just to remind them and others to never ever drink and drive.
Goals have been at a premium in Prince Albert this year. The Raiders have struggled to light the lamp this season. They are averaging just 2 a game and find themselves floundering in the East Division. While the Raiders have been shooting blanks, it appears the Calgary Hitmen have found their touch around the net. The Hitmen have scored 12 times in their last 2 outings and are looking to continue their goal-scoring trend tonight. The Calgary Hitmen and the Prince Albert Raiders meet for the second time this season. It's the WHL on Shaw TV.
Big Four, proud sponsor of Hitmen Hockey on Shaw TV.
That's a tough task for the Prince Albert Raiders tonight. They have not won in Calgary since 1995. That's a span of 28 games. Raiders lost 4-2 on the road last night, and Lethbridge have just 2 victories on the road so far this season. Calgary Hitmen are undefeated on their current homestand, have points in 8 of their last 9 games, and have moved to within 2 points of the Medicine Hat Tigers for a top spot in the Central Division. Tigers do have 4 games in hand. Ryan Leslie is standing by with Hitmen co-coach Dean Evison.
Dave, as you mentioned, joining me now, co-coach of the Calgary Hitmen, and that's Dean Evison. Dean, tell me a little bit. I mean, the last time we spoke, we were talking about expectation levels, whether or not the team was making them. But now, in the last 2 games, 12 goals scored. There's been a bit of a turnaround. How do you explain it?
Well, I guess we've got the group, we think, buying in a little bit more, but why we believe we've had some success here is our leadership core. The Getzlafs, the lads, are really leading by example, which makes it easier for us.
Now tonight, you're playing a Prince Albert Raider team that has struggled to put some wins together, but as we've seen lately, this team can play with the big boys at times. How do you keep your guys motivated and sharp for teams that obviously want to upset teams?
Well, we obviously go through scouting reports and give the guys a game plan specific to their power play and penalty kill and what have you, but ultimately we want to concentrate on what we do well. Certainly our start in last game against Vancouver was very good, and we'd like to build on that here tonight.
Now, how about for you personally? I mean, a number of years in the NHL, of course, some time spent with the Canadian national team, and some time coaching as well. I mean, how much fun is this for you? And now that you're behind the bench of the WHL,
it is fun. It's you know, obviously the best part of the game is playing the game, but the closest thing to it is being behind the bench and getting the feel of game day and practice and getting on the ice. And we have a good team, a good coaching team that we feel you know, has to stick together and obviously be a team off the ice as well as we want the guys to be on the ice.
Dean, we appreciate your time with this and good luck tonight. Co-coach of the Calgary Hitmen, Dean Evison.
It's time to settle in for a little Wednesday night hockey on Shaw TV. The Hitmen and the Raiders are set to go from the Saddle Dome. You're watching the WHL on Shaw TV.
Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, where quality and service are always in fashion. Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, Scotia Centre and South Centre Mall.
Options Bar and Lounge. It may be more fun than you can handle.
Welcome back to the Penguins Saddle Dome. Calgary Hitmen at home on Shaw tonight against the Prince Albert Raiders. And with us in the broadcast booth, Flames assistant coach Jim Playfair. Prince Albert coming off a big win, Jim. The only team so far this season to be able to beat the Medicine Hat Tigers in their building on Friday when they came up with that win.
Well, they've proved in pockets of the games that they can be an effective team. Obviously, like I said, in the first period last night, being the #1 team in the country. And it's just a matter of finding their identity and their consistency. And I know they want Boschman to step up and be a bigger leader and taking charge in the games. And hey, at the end of the day, best goaltender is really going to win you a lot of hockey games, and that's what they're fighting with right now.
And the Prince Albert Raiders have some really upper-end guys also in Jeremy Colleton and Cal Chipchura. This is a team, Jim Playfair, that came into the regular season with high expectations.
Well, certainly they did, and I think that they got a solid group of young defensemen, and those players you talked about, Chipchura, and they play a ton of hockey. Seitzenen's a draft pick of ours. He plays a ton of hockey up there, and I really think that if the Hitmen can come out and put a pressure on them early, get pucks behind their defensemen, pound them away, they should be able to get the lead and hopefully sustain it.
Let's talk about the Calgary Hitmen. It's game 6 of 7 in a row at home. They haven't lost a game on this homestand, but they have 3 ties in the middle of that mix. They're 2-0-3. Overall, a pretty darn good homestand for the Calgary Hitmen.
Well, it has been, and the other thing with the Calgary Hitmen team is they were rated so early coming out of the gates that anything less than an outstanding season over the course of the whole year was going to be unacceptable. So, they're a team now that's got a big homestand, turning around, taking on the road for a big road trip, and they really need to make sure they can pad some more points now before they head out.
Jim Playfair, the Flames assistant coach, our color analyst tonight from the Pengrowth Saddledome as the Calgary Hitmen get ready for the Prince Albert Raiders. And we mentioned that the Raiders have some star-filled players, if you like, or a couple upper-end guys in the Western Hockey League, and Cal Chipchura, Jeremy Colleton, and Rajan Boschman. We heard Dean Evison a moment ago, Jim, talk about how his big guys are starting to turn it up. Ryan Getzlaf has gone from about 20th in scoring in this league. Entering tonight's game, Ryan Getzlaf has just flew up the scoring chart. He is only 3 points out of the lead, 24 points behind Ryan Keller of Saskatoon. Getzlaf is really turning it up. He's riding a 5-game point streak.
Well, Ryan's a player that everybody understands that in the future, once he figures out the ability to develop his skill along with his work ethic, he's going to be a really high-end player for the Calgary Flames and in the future for the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. So I think it's all about the maturity level of recognizing when you are the top player on the team, it comes after you work hard each and every day, and I think that's what he's developing.
You're a coach. I talked to perhaps Ryan's future coach and the head coach of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, Mike Babcock, last week when he was in watching Ryan play, and he had a real interesting line. He goes, Ryan Getzlaf has got to drive the bus. He's got to be the bus driver. Kelly Kissio, the general manager and head coach, has got to tell Ryan Getzlaf where he wants the bus to go.
That's right, and that's really about maturing. And here's a young player who's drafted high expectations from him. You watch this kid long enough, you can really get a sense of what people see in him. And I think that's what we have to talk about is the upside of these young players. That's why it's a development league. That's why you know that a player like Ryan Getzlaf in the future is going to be good. But, hey, he may take a year in the American Hockey League, which is not a bad thing, because once these kids are fully prepared to go to the National Hockey League, there ain't no turning back. They're just going to get better and better and better and better, and I see him as being a high-end guy down the road.
He's riding a 5-game point streak. So is his winger. Andrew Ladd's had points in 5 straight games.
Pete and repeat. Both these kids are going to be, again, good players, and I think Ladd is another high-round draft pick, a lot of expectations on him, and these kids are learning how to be good leaders. Their expectations have been pushed up. The coaches have demanded a lot more from them than perhaps they have in the past, and they're trying to figure it all out, where they fit in, and that it is a lot of work each and every day.
Calgary Hitmen at home tonight against the Prince Albert Raiders. Kyle Raymond is the referee in charge. A school teacher by day in Calgary, a referee at night. Cam McMillan and Kelly Reitenberg on the lines. Rajan Boschman will get the start, the draft choice of the Philadelphia Flyers for the Prince Albert Raiders tonight. And Daniel Spence, the 16-year-old goaltender, will go for Kelly Kissio and the Calgary Hitmen. Spence is in his 6th game in the Western Hockey League. Kelly Kissio's team is set, and we're set. Our team on Shaw to get this underway. The Prince Albert Raiders and the Calgary Hitmen, game 3 of 4 in the regular season. The Hitmen have been perfect against the Raiders this season. 2-0, the final meeting of the campaign will be back in Prince Albert in the Communiplex. That game on the 11th of December. The Raiders are playing game 3 of 4 on this road trip. They have a win and a loss. A win in Medicine Hat, a loss last night in Lethbridge. In Calgary tonight, Swift Current on Friday, as Daniel Spence will have the puck drop to his blocker side.
Well, there's Kelly Kessio, who was up in at the game last night up in Lethbridge, and he certainly has a good understanding of what this man Boschman can do. And so I think it's going to be a huge test. The coaches put a little bit of heat on Boschman to become a better player for them, and the Hitmen certainly want to get a lot of pucks on him often and early to test him.
Peter Anholt, the head coach of Prince Albert, is high on Rajan Boschman. He knows how good this guy can be, but he doesn't feel that he's played as good as he can this season. And Boschman, and we're going to have a fight. The gloves are dropped, and these two guys are going to have to go 30 feet to find each other. Daryl Yakboski's inside his own line, and the Raider player is finally going to square off Chris Slinker. A 20-year-old and a 19-year-old in the Saddle Dome. The 20-year-old has his jersey over his head, Slinker, and that's why the two linesmen will jump in quickly. And those guys were about 50 feet apart before they moved their way together slowly in the Saddle Dome.
I think they sent a telegram earlier this morning that they would get something going on nice and early in the game. And again, the Hitmen have done this a couple times now in this homestand. I think it's something that it's a huge part. I know last year the Calgary Flames, we did this a lot early in the game. The first 5 minutes had to be a hit, a goal, or at least a great scoring chance, or a fight to rev up the building to get the players invested. And now what happens is players on both benches have to buck up and get invested in this game. And I think that's what the message these two players are sending early in the night. And you know, it's a tough job going out there creating the emotional level or setting the emotional level for your team, and that's what these fellas are out there throwing the knuckles all about.
If the Hitman coaching staff were worried that Yakboski thought he was a goal scorer because he had two in his last outing, they don't need to worry about it anymore. He's back to his antics in the penalty box.
He certainly is, and I think that's a sign of a good veteran or a good future National Hockey League player. Recognize what his job description is. He's willing to fulfill it each and every night.
Puck's dropped to the stick side of Hitman goaltender Daniel Spence. First year in the Western Hockey League, he played as a 15-year-old in Revelstoke last season. Puck comes back to the Prince Albert line. 5 skaters aside as Slinker and Yakboski both go for 5 minutes for fighting. Dustin Kahn is able to move it over to Carson. Carson will send it in. Back after it for the Raiders, Evan Schaefer, a draft choice of the Florida Panthers. He lifts it all the way down, icing waved off, and Jeff Schultz will move it on the left wing for Andrew Ladd. Jim and I were talking about Andrew in the pregame, riding a 5-game point streak that includes 4 goals and 8 points, and he sends it in for the Hitmen. It's moved the other way by Jones. 4 or 5 players banging along the boards, and a penalty coming up against Brody DuPont as he let 19-year-old Brett Novak have it pretty hard along the boards, and Daniel Spence and his teammates will kill their first penalty of the game.
Well, Daniel Spence is certainly finding his way into the league, and I think he's done a very good job in this homestand. It's a great opportunity for the coaching staff to get a young player in and getting him settled into the game, and I think settling into the league. And I think right now, when you look at what's going on here in the Hitmen, they take a penalty early in the period, but I'll tell you something, they're trying to bring the energy to the game early. They know these guys are tired. They see what happened last night in Lethbridge, and they just want to physically get after him. So the onus is on the penalty killer now to get some up-ice pressure and get this thing killed off. Last
night in Lethbridge, when the Raiders played the Canes, they had 3 power play chances, and they are unable to convert, losing 4-2 against Lethbridge. Seitzinen brings it in. In behind Daniel Spence, the Flames draft choice, getting it back in the left corner. Certainly a guy that our color analyst is familiar with, Aki Seitzinen. We'll come back to that later, a Flames pick that Jim saw earlier this summer. There's 1:25 to go on the Raider power play. This game is scoreless, and we've played just under 2 minutes of the first period. Jeremy Colleton way across ice for Chipchura. That was picked off. Dustin Kahn was able to read the play, picked it off, and sends it down. Boschman pressured by Merkley, and the play goes back in behind the Raider goal. Moving it ahead, Jeff May. He's a 16-year-old for the Raiders, and he plays it into the neutral ice area. Picked off, sent back in by Merkley, and that will force the Raiders to retreat back after it. Moving it ahead on the left wing, Fritshaw into the neutral ice area, back to the Hitman line. Puck goes into the corner. Raiders setting up on the power play. 45 seconds to go with the extra attacker. On the right side boards, Waker back to the point. Waker pressured by Covington. Back to the point. Jones fakes. Now he'll move it on the right wing. Waker spins as he's pressured by Schultz. There's 30 seconds to go on the Raider power play. They're yet to get a shot on goal with the extra attacker. Puck in the right corner. Back to the point. Fritshaw pinches, can't get it. Hitman trying to clear, unable to. Covington after it. Fritzaw trying to keep it in, and it's lifted all the way down. Boscheman will come out of the Raider net.
This is exactly what the Hitmen want to do on their first penalty kill. Lots of up-ice pressure. It allows the Hitmen defensemen to stand up and hold the blue line. And when Prince Albert brings all their players back in their own zone, it really creates a tight gap in the neutral zone, and there's not a whole lot of loose play in the defensive zone. So it's a good job by the Hitmen early in the kill, and they get the kill done.
They get the kill done is right. We're back at even strength as DuPont, the 17-year-old rookie for the Calgary Hitmen, comes back out onto the ice. No score, 3.5 minutes into the first period. Fritzaw will shoot from the point. That's picked off. Trying to move it up ice. Carson turned over. Raiders keep it in. Ottman's shot goes wide, and there's another penalty coming up. Raider goaltender Boscheman is on the bench, and back-to-back penalties for the Calgary Hitmen. This one coming at 3:36.
Well, these are the dangerous ones, the ones that creep right back up on you. And I know that there's Kelly scratching his head, wondering about who to put out there next to make sure. This is a big draw. Obviously, it's a huge draw. They're going to want to get puck possession, get up ice, and allow themselves to get up ice pressure. But in talking to Kelly last night, he had a real good view of what PA wants to do on their power play, and he knows how he wants his players to kill it. It's just a matter of them executing it.
Jeff May moves it across to the right point. The shot by Seitzinen. Playing on the back end of this power play. He's a forward for Peter Anholt and Dave Manson, the coaches of the Raiders, but on the power play, he works on the back end. Raiders setting up. The shot blocked in front of Spence and sent down, and all four Hitman penalty killers will go to the bench, and out comes the next wave. 1:30 to go on the penalty to Carson. 4 minutes into the first period, the game is scoreless, but the Calgary Hitmen shorthanded for the second time of the period. It's dumped back in. Chipchura sends it into the right corner. King Pierpoint after it. Covington there, and he's able to lift it over the head and beyond the reach of May, and all the way down. Boscheman out of the Raider net to set it up for May. May will swing in behind the Raider goal and move it back up ice in the power play to Colleton. Colleton to the Hitman line, driving towards the net, unable to get a shot away. Colleton and Merkley battling in the corner, and it comes back to Jones. Jones will move it to Fritzaw. Fritzaw unable to play it at the right point, but the Raiders keep it in on the power play. Jones to Fritzaw. Shot off the left pad of the goaltender Spence and into the corner. Dustin Kahn battling. Can he clear? Yes, he sends it back out to the red line where Jones will take it and move it back up ice, and he finds Nolan Waker. Waker brings it in with DePap. DePap on the right side boards. 35 seconds to go on the Raider power play. DePap has control for the Raiders, leaves it back to Fritzaw. Fritzaw will move it to Jones. Jones pressured, and it's dumped in behind Spence. Raiders setting up in the power play. Fritzaw at the right point. Waits. Fritzaw patient with the puck. Gets it back. His one-timer, nothing on it. And it comes back to the left point for Jones. 10 seconds to go on the second consecutive penalty to the Calgary Hitmen. Fritzaw at the right point to Jones. He's going to fire. That's blocked by Solaski. He sends it down. Brett Carson out of the penalty box, and we're back at even strength. The Hitmen have killed off back-to-back Raider power play chances.
That's a huge kill, and here's, I think, one of the premier penalty killers in the league. Big Ryan Getzlaf. He's very patient with the puck up ice. He does a good job, and when the penalty's over, you make sure you get your best players back out there and get the hunt back on. You want the pressure back on their defense, and that's exactly what Kelly Kissio has got out there. His number one line getting the push on.
Ladd, O'Malley, and Getzlaf, that number one line that Jim Playfair is referring to. Getzlaf's lost his stick in the right corner. The first round draft choice of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Back to the point. Alsner trying to keep it in. He drops down to one knee, and he's able to. Sends it into the corner. Alsner keeping it in again. His shot goes off Doucette's stick. Getzlaf's got his stick back, and he chases after it in the corner with Eriksson. 3 or 4 players banging along the boards in the corner. Back to the point. Shot redirected. It went off the skate of Ladd, and it's whipped by Alsner and down. This will be icing against the Prince Albert Raiders. And we'll be back. This is Big Four Motors Hockey from the Saddle Dome on Shaw TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Options Bar and Lounge. It may be more fun than you can handle.
13:24 left to go in a scoreless first period. Rayshan Boscheman and the Raiders settling in on the road. This is their third of 4 consecutive away from Prince Albert. They're back home on the weekend against the Tri-City Americans. Isaac Reed, the 16-year-old Demoskolak. He's tied up. Danzero with a chance on the doorstep, and a good save by Boscheman. Raiders move it the other way. Jeff May Out to the red line, intended for DePape. He sends it in on the backhand, but it's offside at the Hitman line. 13:03 left in the first period as the Raider forward, Ryan DePape, gets back up.
DePape's going to be a good young player. He is eligible in 2006 to the NHL draft, and I watched him last night again. He's going to be a great player. This is a good little bit of pressure by their fourth line. They're young kids, and that's exactly what those kids are to do. They're to bring energy and hunt pucks down, make the game uncomfortable for the PA defenseman.
DePape is one of two 16-year-olds for the Raiders this season. The other one, Scott Doucette. The two Raiders 16-year-olds, and the Calgary Hitmen have 5 in that category this season, including a 17-year-old rookie as well. In terms of in the rookie category for the Calgary Hitmen, Brody Dupont, but there are 5 guys even younger than Brody.
Well, Brody's certainly gotten better each and every week of the season, and that's what you want in your young 16-year-old kids, and I think that helps with the pressure of those rebuilding years. When you can get a bunch of the young kids and bring them along, I think you do a very good job.
Raiders are out shooting the Calgary Hitmen 3-1. Remember, they've had 2 power play chances. This make it 3. There's a penalty coming up in the corner, and the Raiders will get their 3rd consecutive power play chance. They're 0 for 2. The game's scoreless, and the Calgary Hitmen on their way to the penalty box for the 3rd time in 7.5 minutes.
You know, that's one of the drawbacks when you come out as a coaching staff and you recognize you want to apply a lot of physical pressure on the opposition. You're at home, you know they're tired. You really think if you can establish dominant presence early in the game, like the Yakboski started off with, and the last 3 penalties are physical push penalties. Right here, a little cross check from the back, and he falls face first in the boards. Obviously, a good call by the referee. Nonetheless, here they go for their 3rd penalty kill, and again they got to do a great job to kill it off, because this is halfway through the first period, and they got to do a.
Sean Landolt is a draft choice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. One of the 320-year-olds for the Calgary Hitmen this season, and he's in the penalty box now. The Hitmen penalty kill has been busy to begin this Wednesday night game against the Prince Albert Raiders. Trying to throw it out front for the Raiders. Jones at the point is kept in by Seitsonen. Seitsonen moves it back to the right point. Chipchura. Kyle Chipchura trying to find someone on the back door. May had pinched. Seitsonen reaches forward. Penalty killers for the Calgary Hitmen, Cognac, Bosky, Merkley, and Covington. The play continues along the left side boards and over the Hitman line, and it's offside. Puck's gloved ahead, actually, just in front of the Hitman bench.
One of the bright spots for the team that can't score a whole lot of goals has been Jeremy Colleton with 5 power play goals, and I think it's something that I know that Peter Anholt relies on him. He plays a lot of minutes in specialty situations, and he'll be a big part if they can get this thing up and running here in the first period.
He is a second-round draft choice of the New York Islanders from the 2003 NHL entry draft. Jeremy Colleton, who is from just outside of Calgary in Blackie, Alberta. And the Hitmen have a player, Riley Merkley, from Blackie. So that hamlet outside of Calgary probably completely vacated tonight, Jim, as everyone is out watching these two guys battle against each other in the Western Hockey League. May shoots. That's blocked by Spence and is picked up by Getzlaf. Short-handed situation. Getzlaf looking for Ladd, picked off by Seitsonen. Seitsonen leaving it for May. 50 seconds to go on the penalty to Landolt. Chipchura pressured, moves it across on the left wing for Novak, one of the 20-year-olds for the Raiders, and he'll bring it in. 11:10 to go in the first period. No score. 35 seconds left on the 3rd Raider power play. Schaefer at the point, sends it across. Back to Schaefer. Hitman penalty kill setting up as the Raiders throw it around. Yakboski in front of Spence. It is picked off, the shot, and Ryan Getzlaf will dump it for Ladd. Ladd on the backhand gets a shot away. That was handled rather easily by Boscheman, and the Raiders are going to race away the other way in the power play. Still 13 seconds to go with the extra attacker as DePape brings it to the Hitman line. DePape trying to knock it by Solaski. Back to Schaefer. 5 seconds left on the penalty to Landolt. Play along the boards. Carson trying to knock it in behind his goaltender Spence. Coming out front and getting the shot away was Novak. Spence was down, and the puck goes back into the left corner. 4 or 5 players jam away along the boards. We're back at even strength. The Calgary Hitmen have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 consecutive minor penalties, and we are just coming up on the halfway mark of a scoreless first period. Solaski sends it back to the Raider line. Carson reaching for it in the neutral ice area. He'll send it back in over the Raider line. Doucette, one of the two 16-year-olds for the Raiders that we were talking about earlier, moves it up ice, and here comes Erickson. His shot goes off the leg of the defenseman Alsner and into the corner. Isaac Reed after it. Carson there as well. It is lifted high to Olan just inside the Raider line. Boscheman will send it in behind his goal for Landon Jones. Here comes Doucette on the right wing, but picking up the puck was Alsner in front of the penalty box, and it's lifted back in over the Raider line. Moskaluk after it. Moskaluk coming in front of the net, but he was unable to get in front and get a shot away, and the play goes into the corner. Back in behind the Raider net, Moskaluk battling with Gauthier. Reed there as well. Gauthier and Moskaluk in behind the Raider net. Moskaluk will send it back to the point. Here comes the shot from Harder, kicked away by Boscheman, who was able to see it through traffic. Raiders send it down, and it's icing against Prince Albert. You're watching the Western Hockey League on Shaw TV.
Big Four has great lease and finance rates. And well, just look. Plenty of trunk space.
Big Four, proud sponsor of Hitman Hockey on Shaw TV.
9:08 left in a scoreless first period. The Prince Albert Raiders on the road. Kane Pierpoint and his teammates scoreless against the Hitmen. And Chipchura will move it back in over the Hitman line. Pierpoint off the blocker of Spence, who loses his goal stick as the net is dislodged. Driving it on goal was Jeremy Colleton, the captain of the Raiders.
Well, one of the things the Raiders are really trying to do a lot of this evening is get a lot of shots on goal, and they recognize now they've had 3 power play opportunities, and they have to do 2 things. You have to get people and pucks in the net on a consistent basis. When you don't score goals, you got to create ugly goals, and Spence loses the puck here, and all Colleton does is drive hard to the net. And that's a competitive player competing hard for space on the ice, and that's exactly what Peter Anholt and the coaching staff want to see out of their team tonight.
Daniel Spence, the 16-year-old goalie from Langley, British Columbia. His 6th start of the season for Kelly Kishio and Dean Evison tonight. In the 21st game of the regular season for the Hitmen. Back to the point. It's kept in by Chipchura. His shot blocked in front of Spence. Pierpoint after it in the corner. He bangs along the boards with Yakboski. Colleton after it, throws it out front, but Dustin Kahn will pick it off. The 17-year-old moves it up ice for the Hitmen. It's turned over, however, and here come the Raiders, and they're onside. Chipchura shoots, juggled by Spence on the goal line, not in. Another shot, puck's loose in the goal crease area. Penalty coming up. Spence was all over the place, but he is able to keep it out somehow or other, and this game is scoreless.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a situation where Pushkarov's carrying the puck up the ice, and in his mindset, he wants to have puck possession. He turns it over at the red line on a backhand pass behind the defenseman, and here it is for a great scoring chance. Chipchura gets lets a shot go. Spence loses it. He stays with it. They're driving the net. There's Colleton again, right on top of the goaltender. Pierpont comes in, can't get it.
Just bounces wide of the right post. Spence and many others in the building were afraid, if you're on the Hitman side of this, that was going to bounce in over the line, Jim Playfair.
All from an offensive zone turnover, I think, and that's where you have to really stay on the players and understand where do you apply pressure on the ice. It's always behind their defenseman.
Hitman on the power play for the first time in the game. No score, 12 minutes into the opening period. Landolt with Getzlaf on the power play. The shot, they score. Ryan Getzlaf extends his point streak to 6. He's the captain, and he has the team on the board. It's 1-0 for the Hitmen.
This is just a great play by Ryan Getzlaf. They set the power play up. I talked to Kelly last night. He recognized they had to occupy the point shot. They had to get traffic to the front end, screen the goaltender. He knew Bosch was going to be playing again tonight, and all they do is Getzlaf winds up, has a quick look, gets the puck through on the net, and Bushman has no chance. He can't see that puck coming through with all the traffic in front, and it's 1-0.
Ryan Getzlaf, his 13th goal of the campaign, and this is 21st game. He extends his point streak to 6, and in that 6-game point streak, he now has 12 points, averaging 2 a game, and he still has lots left in this one against the Prince Albert Raiders tonight. Hitman 1 for 1 on the power play. Riley Merkley rode off the puck by Seitzinen. Seitzinen and Merkley continue the battle. Covington there as well. Stephen Covington reaching for it. Seitzinen, 4 or 5 players in traffic in the corner. They continue to work the puck along the boards. Play goes into the right corner. Aki Seitsonen moves it in behind his net and is picked up on the right side boards by Novak. Novak moves it up ice, but Jeff Schultz is back after it for the Calgary Hitmen to Carson. Carson able to find Solaski, who sends it in, and the Hitmen are going to make changes on the fly. Boscheman will leave it in behind the Raider net. Doucette on the wing, skates it back up ice. 7 minutes to go in the first period. Ryan Getzlaf, the lone goal of the period, and the Calgary Hitmen have a 1-0 lead as this homestand, which has been a lengthy one, continues for the Hitmen, and there's a penalty coming up against the Hitmen. It's touched by Reed, and for the 4th time this period, the Hitmen will be short-handed, but it's been a lengthy homestand, no question, Jim. This is the 6th consecutive game at home. One more to go Saturday against Lethbridge, and a penalty kill coming up as Brody Dupont, as the Hitmen forward Daryl Moskalak makes his way to the penalty box.
Well, again, it's the same deal here. Off the line rush, goes in. Muscle looks to make a big hit. He gets his elbows up a little bit high. It's a boarding call. And again, it's about the coaches demanding they play hard. They play an aggressive style of hockey, and here they are. Now it's time to kill out their 4th penalty in the first period. And it's a tall order, but I think they can get it done with their up ice pressure.
Puck in behind Rajan Boscheman, and that's the Raiders will start on their power play chance. Aki Seitsonen moves it ahead on the left wing and is dumped in by Colleton. Pierpoint after it in the corner with Chipchura. Andrew Ladd along the boards with Yakboski trying to turn it over, but Chipchura, who is a first-round draft choice of the Montreal Canadiens, sends it back to Seitsonen. The Canadiens draft choice moves it into the right corner. Centering pass, and that goes by everyone. Andrew Ladd on the backhand is able to send it down, and Boscheman comes way out of his net, and he finds Chipchura. Chipchura, though, can't handle the puck, falls down, and O'Malley will chip it into the corner. O'Malley and May battle deep in the Prince Albert zone. 1:10 to go on the penalty to Moskalak. Colleton comes up with it, and he'll move it back up ice in the power play. Pierpoint and Chipchura are with them. Chipchura will bring it in over the line. Chipchura on the back door for Colleton. That doesn't connect, but Colleton's able to move it back in the corner for Pierpoint. At the point, pinching in Schaefer. Moves it into the corner. There's 50 seconds to go on the penalty to Moskalak. Carson gets it, can't clear. Fritzshaw keeps it in. Chipchura along the boards with Schultz. Back in behind Spence. Carson reaches for it, can't come up with it. Schultz after it with Pierpoint, and the Raiders set up. Schaefer at the point. Plays it over on the left side for Fritzshaw. That hit the iron, and it goes into the left corner, right off the right post, and the puck skipped into the corner. A chance for the Raiders in the power play there. Prince Albert still with the extra attacker for another 15 seconds, but Carson gets it, sends it between the two Raider defensemen, and down with only 10 seconds to go on the penalty to Moskalak.
Well, again, this is the 4th power play penalty kill for the Hitmen, and I tell you, they got to do a good job of getting their batters recharged between periods, because this takes a lot out of your penalty killers, and they got to make sure they use 4 or 5 defensemen in the penalty kill. They got to do a good job. Ready to go for the next period.
Moskalak comes out of the penalty box and touches it, and it's a delayed offside at the Prince Albert line. Hitmen lead 1-0, and we'll be back. This is Big Four Motors Hockey on Shaw TV.
What? Don't let it happen to you. Around the block or around the country, trust AAA Top Line Moves. Top Line Moves, professionalism guaranteed.
Daniel Spence has been busy. His hockey club has killed off 4 consecutive minor penalties, and they have a power play goal of their own. The Calgary Hitmen at home with a 1-0 lead. Play back at the Raider line, and for one of the few times in the first period, Jim Playfair, we have 5 skaters aside. We haven't seen that very much here in the opening 20.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of tempo through the neutral zone in this game, that's for sure. It's playing one zone or the other all night so far. So
Flames assistant coach Jim Playfair with us in the broadcast booth tonight. And there's a penalty coming up. We jinxed it. We said we have a 5-on-5 situation. We haven't had many of those in the first period. And the Raiders are on the penalty kill now. On his way to the penalty box is Ryan DePapp, one of the 16-year-olds for Peter Anholt and Dave Manson.
Well, Moskalak just gets the puck down deep, and he gets moving his feet, and Novak has no choice but to haul him down. Down here, he gets a little step on him, hauls him down. The Hitmen go back on the power play with Getzlaf back at the point.
Point's a good one. It's Brett Novak in the penalty box, a 19-year-old. And the Hitmen, who have their lone goal in the period on the power play, set up again. Back to Dustin Kahn. Ryan Getzlaf. Getzlaf at the point. Sends it to Landolt. Landolt's going to tee it up. That shot high. It sails over the net. And Dustin Kahn on the wing throws it out front for Landolt, but it's picked off. Landolt fighting to keep it in. Back to Getzlaf. Getzlaf angled it off his skate, and the Raiders get it this time, and Jones will send it down. 1:30 left on the penalty to Brett Novak. Getzlaf brings it the other way on the power play. Sends it into the corner. Pierpoint and O'Malley crash in after it. Pierpoint gets it, sends it down, and Spence will come way out of the Hitman goal and set it up on the goal line. Plays it for Kahn. Dustin Kahn takes it in behind Spence. Kahn is amongst the top 10 scorers amongst all WHL defensemen this year, and he's only a 17-year-old. He brings it to the Raider line. Kahn for Getzlaf, picked off, and the Raiders are able to clear. 1 minute left on the penalty to Novak. 3 minutes to go in the first period. Brody Dupont. 17-year-old sends it in on the power play. Boscheman will leave it in behind the Raider net. Pierpoint pressured by Solaski. Solaski takes it from Pierpoint, throws it out front. Great save, Boscheman, as a chance on the doorstep for Brett O'Malley, who was fed perfectly, but a big save by the Raider goaltender, who read that play and came across his crease. And the Flyers draft choice, the Raider goaltender Boscheman, with a big save to keep this game 1-0 for the Calgary Hitmen. 30 seconds to go on the Hitman power play. O'Malley to Schultz. His shot blocked in front of the Raider net. Pierpoint in the corner after it, and he's able to clear. Spence will come out. Plays it up ice for Schultz. Both teams are making changes. Schultz will send it in. Only a dozen seconds remaining on the penalty to Novak. Jones will leave it for Fritshaw. Fritshaw lifts it off the glass and back out to the red line. Colleton after it. Schultz reaching for it. Merkley comes up with it, and we're back at even strength. Novak steps back out onto the ice. There's 2 minutes to go in the first period. The Calgary Hitmen have a 1-0 lead on a power play goal by Ryan Getzlaf. Play deep in the Raiders zone. Novak and Covington battle along the boards. Merkley there as well. Jones gets it on the left wing for Seitzinen. He can't clear. The shot from the point handled by Boscheman. Colleton after it on the wing, and it comes back to Alzner. Alzner plays it in the corner. Covington chases after it. A little bit of room for Stephen Covington. Sends it back to the point. Here's the shot picked off, and Seitzinen is able to move it back to the Hitman line. Alzner with 90 seconds to go in the first period dishes it off for Harder. Tyler Harder to O'Malley. He's rocked in front of the Raider bench, and we get a stoppage in play with 1:19 left to go in the first period, and some pushing and shoving after the whistle.
Well, good tempo by the Hitmen. I think they did a very good job getting pucks in deep, and there's a little bit of bumping and pushing. And Ladd, you know, we talked about him earlier, having the round his game out more, having to bring more to the table. And as a leader of the team, he recognizes one of his players are getting challenged. Merkley gets hit from behind. O'Malley rather gets hit from behind. He steps in and he gets challenged to a fight. I think there's going to be double minors served up here. But again, not only is it about points, not only is it about practicing hard, it's about bringing it to the table each and every night in the game. And that's a good push by Mr. Ladd.
Andrew Ladd of the Calgary Hitmen in the penalty box, along with the Raider forward or defenseman Mike Gauthier. And Kelly Kissio and his team have a 1-0 lead late in the first period. 1:19 to go.
Right here.
That was a big save. He came across the crease in a hurry, Jim.
It's huge.
Here come the Hitmen on a 4-on-4 scenario. Back to the Raider line. Pushkarev in the corner for Getzlaf. Getzlaf pressured in behind the net by Schaefer. Pushkarev after it in the left corner with Slinker. Getzlaf working along the boards right there for the Raiders as well. Ottman, and we get a stoppage in play with 54 seconds to go in the first period. And 1:35 remaining on the 2 minor penalties.
Well, Pushkarov and Getzlaf, 2 guys you want to have on the ice, obviously in a 4-on-4 situation. They both like to handle the puck. They're both patient with the puck, and Getzlaf has been such a big part of this team. In the last 6-game point scoring streak, he's got 12 points. But you know, he's a player that when he understands the balance between his hard work and his skill, he's really going to take off, and he's going to really shoot up in his career. And I talked to him a little bit of practice. He wants to take a bigger leadership role, and he understands he has to do it every day.
That point streak includes 2 points a game, Jim. Those are pretty impressive numbers at any level.
Well, they are. And I think that, like Dean alluded to earlier, that he's understanding that it's an everyday deal. And I watched him the other day, and the Hitmen come into the Flames dressing room now and work out with all the bikes and the equipment. So I talked to those boys when they're in there, and he recognizes now. You hear him. He's calling up the time they got to ride the bike. He's a lead horse.
42 seconds left in the first period. Luke Fritshaw still looking for his first goal of the season. And the Raiders trail 1-0 in this one late in the opening period. Fritshaw moves it across and he finds Jones. Back to Fritshaw. 4 skaters aside for the final 30 seconds of the first period. And Chipchura will send it in. Colleton after it in the corner. Chipchura follows up. Chipchura chips it back into the corner. 4 players banging along the boards. Fritshaw at the point, shoots. Good left pad save there by Daniel Spence with only 15 seconds to go in the first period. Raiders keep it in. Chipchura leaves it for Jones at the left point. Jones is going to shoot. Is redirected in front of Spence, and he's able to get it between his pads and keep it out. Daniel Spence, when tested, has been sharp. Raiders are out shooting the Hitmen 9-6. 4 seconds to go in the period.
That's a huge save. 4 seconds left. A shot from the high slot. Great pad save. Rebound. Doesn't get fully cleared down the ice. Kept in. Another point shot. Huge save by Spence. Like I say, 4 seconds left in the period.
An important face-off deep in the Hitman zone. Won by the Calgary Hitmen, and Conn will just take it behind his goal, and the first period is in the books. 1-0 on a goal by Ryan Getzlaf. 41 seconds remaining, and the penalties to Gauthier and Ladd. And the Calgary Hitmen, as they continue on this homestand with a 1-0 lead through 20 minutes of play. And Jim Playfair, boy, not 1 or 2, but 4 minor penalties that the Calgary Hitmen were able to kill successfully in the opening 20.
Well, you know, that's always the balance you're trying to find as a coach. You want your team to be aggressive at home. You want your team to push the team that played on the road rather last night. They come into your building, set the precedent early in the game, make them know that they're in for every time they touch the puck, they're in for a battle. And I think that's what they started off with tonight, obviously with Yakubowski's fight at the drop of the puck, and then the subsequent penalties after that. But they battled through. They held out. Again, their goaltender Spence was very good in the first period, and a huge power play goal by their number 1 gun. And I think that's the story of the first period.
Jim Playfair, our color analyst, Flames assistant coach. And Jim, when you kill off 4 penalties, well, that can tire the bench out. The period's over, so we'll get some rest. And I like what you're saying. The Hitmen need to be aggressive, but out of those 4 penalties, maybe 3, if not all 4, they may have been too aggressive.
Well, they earned them. They certainly, wasn't the referee picking on them, that's for sure. And I think that's where Kelly Kissio now goes in the dressing room and says, okay, we've established a physical presence out there. We've got the 1-0 lead. Now we go back and implement our details of our game play and make sure we're strong for the rest of the period.
Jim, you're sitting on my mic cord, they're telling me, from the truck.
All right, sorry about that.
Well, what are you doing? Kidding. 1-0 for the Calgary Hitmen through 20 in the Saddle Dome. Our color analyst is Flames assistant coach, but we're going to send it down from Jim Playfair and Mark Stiles and find Shaw TV's Ryan Leslie.
Thanks, guys. He has 9 goals and 12 assists for 21 points this season. Joining me is Kyle Chipchura. And Kyle, you certainly had your opportunities out there tonight, but this is a tough building for you guys to play in traditionally. Haven't had a win here since 1995.
Yeah, we know that too, coming in here, and I don't know, I don't know what it is, but just, I don't know, like ever since I've been here, we haven't won, and I don't know what we have to do, but I think we just stay to our game, we'll be all right.
Now, this is a team, this Prince Albert Raiders team, that goes in and hands Medicine Hat their only loss of the season at home so far, but then, of course, the other night in Lethbridge, you guys suffer a loss. How do you get this team playing consistent?
I think it's our older guys have to step up, kind of straighten the ship here, and I don't know what it is. I think we're a really inconsistent team, and we should be doing a lot better than what we have been so far this season.
Now, not to put you on the spot, but, 11 times this season, your team has scored just 1 goal. How important is it for you guys, and how much of a focus is that for you guys to get multiple goals?
Yeah, you're not going to win many games just scoring 1 goal, and yeah, it's a shame. We lately been not allowing as much, but we haven't been scoring, and we can't really put nothing on. I think our power play has to come through for us a little bit better, and I don't know what it really is. We have to bear down on our chances. It's just something you really can't put your finger on right now. We've been struggling.
Now, how about for you personally? Drafted 18th overall by the Montreal Canadiens. Take me through draft day, if you could, in a nutshell, and tell me what it was like to hear your name called to one of the most storied franchises in hockey.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was kind of a long wait. I sat there, and for a bit there, I kind of forgot I was involved in the whole thing, and just kind of sitting there and enjoying the experience. Then, when my name got called off, it was pretty surreal, and probably the greatest day of my life.
We appreciate your time, and good luck the rest of the way. Kyle Chipchura of the Prince Albert Raiders.
Raiders couldn't convert on 3 early power play opportunities tonight in Calgary. Ryan Getzlaf scored his 13th goal of the season. It was a power play marker from Sean Landolt and Dustin Kahn. At 12:06, a power play goal. The Prince Albert Raiders were 0 for 4 on the power play in the first period. The Calgary Hitmen 1 for 2 shots on goal by the Raiders 9, the Hitmen 6. When we come back, we'll have a look at the Hitmen Overagers. You're watching Big Four Motors WHL Hockey on Shaw TV.
Can you recognize the MVP on this team? Visit rbc.com to find out how the RBC Local Hockey Leaders Program recognizes volunteers in your community. RBC Insurance. First for you.
Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, where quality and service are always in fashion. Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, Scotia Centre and South Centre Mall.
This is Caitlin. She's waiting for a friend. It turns out who Caitlin met wasn't a friend at all. Teach your kids to become web aware. The Media Awareness Network can help. Visit bewebaware.ca.
Hitmen and the Raiders, it's the WHL on Shaw TV. Well, each team in the Western League is allowed to carry 3 20-year-olds on its roster. And these veterans are expected to provide leadership and be role models for younger players. John Henderson has this look at the Hitmen's trio of overagers still playing junior hockey with a bunch of teens.
2 of the Hitmen's 3 20-year-old players came to Calgary from Moose Jaw in a trade back on January 8th of 2003. And Lee Zalaski and Sean Landolt have stayed on to fill overage roster spots this year. Now, they understand it's an important role both on and off the ice.
I think a lot of it's leadership. You know, you have to bring what you've brought through your whole career. I mean, if it's scoring, checking, whatever. But a lot of it's leadership. So, yeah, a lot of us have been here for 5 years as a 20-year-old. So, I mean, you got to show the young guys the way. So.
You remember when you were a young guy, and how do you go about helping some of the younger guys?
You just show them the way, you know, you prepare things certain, you know, on the road and stuff and how things go. You just got to, you know, help them on a little bit.
Well, I think every overage would say they have something different, bring something different to the table to help the younger guys. I think it's for myself, it's more of my on ice. So I can't talk to them as, you know, my actions speak louder than words. And like guys like O'Malley and that, they're better talkers than maybe they are. They show both, and I only show the one. So, you know, I show what I can on the ice and help them, maybe point them, give a few tips here and there and reminders, and you know, they help me out that way too. You know, we're all in there. We're a team of 22 players and helping each other out.
The Hitmen also traded for their 3rd overager, Brett O'Malley. The O'Malley that Zalaski just referred to was picked up from Lethbridge last season. And the realization for all these guys that their WHL careers are quickly winding down, well, it's beginning to really hit home.
When I was 16 years old, I thought, well, hopefully I still have 4 years, 5 years left in the league. Didn't really think it was going to go by this fast, but now that I'm 20, I mean, it just seems like I wasn't even here for 5 years, so it's gone by pretty fast.
Now, there's 3 overage guys on every team. What's the role, besides maybe being a hockey player, of being one of the overage guys?
Definitely, you're one of the guys that guys look up to, one of the younger guys look up to. So I'm just trying to be a role model on and off the ice.
The Hitmen have a brand new coaching staff this season, and rest assured that Kelly Kissio and company will be looking to their overage players to lead the way in showing the others how to carry out the coach's wishes, to be kind of their coaches out on the ice.
You're watching the WHL on Shaw TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing.
The 20 minutes are in the books tonight in Calgary. The Hitmen and the Raiders on Shaw TV. Well, the Hitmen have been getting some timely contributions from some unexpected sources this season. After a 4-goal outburst over the weekend, sophomore Riley Merkley has already surpassed his goal total from a year ago. John Henderson has more on the 17-year-old from Blackie, Alberta.
They still trail by 1. Merkley again, he's all alone, shoots and scores!
He scored just 5 times as a 16-year-old in the WHL last year, but center Riley Merkley has showed a goal-scoring touch throughout his minor hockey days, and he's played a bigger role with the Calgary Hitmen in this his second year.
I mean, obviously, the first year is huge. You want to, you want to get it out of the way as a 16-year-old, being a rookie and everything, and it's a new learning experience, obviously, and you want to learn as much as you can as you're a 16-year-old and come back in your draft year and try and apply everything you learned and have as good a year as you can, and that's just what I tried to do. And last year was a great experience. There was great guys in the room, learning from some great guys. Agner, Weller, obviously Getz was there, other leaders like that, and came back this year and I'm a lot more confident, so it definitely helped a lot.
What was the biggest thing you learned?
I don't know, just how to play in the league, because it's all new coming from midget, being a 16-year-old, it's a completely different experience, the number of games, the pace, practicing every day, just you got to learn how to play in the league, and kind of how to pace yourself and how to go every night, get prepared, to play every night, 'cause you play a lot more games, and that's pretty much the biggest thing I learned, I think.
Yeah, we touched base this summer, Riley, at the U18 camp, and even though you didn't make the final roster, I'm sure that did a world of good for you just to skate with those guys.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's, I talked to you in the summer, obviously, about the same stuff. It's really high pace and really talented guys there, so it prepares you for the season pretty well, and, gives you kind of a guide on how you're doing compared to other guys, around the country, obviously. And it was a great experience, and unfortunately, I didn't make it, but, there's other chances, so maybe next time.
Sure. Hey, why not? Even though Merkley didn't make last summer's Canadian under-18 hockey team, he can take solace in the fact that other now prominent WHL players and even some NHLers didn't make it either when they were 17 years old. So Riley Merkley can see that if he continues to work hard, anything in hockey is possible.
Other games in the Western Hockey League tonight. The out-of-town scoreboard is next. You're watching the WHL on Shaw TV.
Big Four, proud sponsor of Hitmen Hockey on Shaw TV.
Okay, let's try that one more time. Okay, let's try that one more time.
Play Humpty's Restaurant's Guess the Score game and you could win dinner for 2. To enter, just fill out a ballot at any Calgary area Humpty's restaurant and tell us what you think the score will be of the next Hitmen hockey game, broadcast live on Shaw TV. Humpty's, it's all good.
4 other games in the Western Hockey League tonight. In Saskatoon, the Tri-City Americans, they beat Regina 2-1 last night. They trail Saskatoon 3-2. They are at the end of 2 periods of play in Saskatoon. Meantime, in Cranbrook, the Medicine Hat Tigers and the Kootenay Ice, they are meeting for the first time this season. It is 1-0 for the Ice. They are at the end of 1 period of play in Cranbrook. 2 other games tonight. The Spokane Chiefs have lost 6 in a row. They are at Kelowna, and the Seattle Thunderbirds play in Vancouver. The T-Birds have won 8 of their last 10 games. Those 2 games are 8 o'clock starts. Let's go back upstairs to Jim and Mark and talk about the first period.
All right, guys, thanks very much. From the Saddle Dome, Jim Playfair, Mark Stiles, Ryan Leslie, Dave Roberts, Son Shaw, and the Calgary Hitmen continue this homestand. Jim Playfair, 1-0 through 20. We'll begin the second. Both teams 4 skaters aside. I'll pick up where we left off at the end of the first period. Hitman penalty kill was busy. They had to kill off 4 consecutive Prince Albert power plays.
Well, it was, and again, it goes back to a mindset you set your team up with early in the day. And when you meet with them in the morning, you go through the whole day preparation. They're revved up and they're ready to come out here and compete. They know they got 2 more games left at home before they go on a long road trip, and they want to leave an impression of a team that's battling, a team that competes hard, and they come out with an aggressive mindset. They got out with the big fight by Yakboski early, and then as the game rolled on, they just ended up drawing too many penalties. But here's some great saves by Spence. He comes in, Chipcheri gets a shot, puck rolls behind him, he stays with it, fights for it. That's a great battle level right here. He's different angle, he learned, turns back, throws out the back of the net, stays with it, his team gets in there, competes with him. That's exactly what it's all about. Another great pad save, kicks it out, defenseman clears out of the zone. Here's a goal on the power play. Ladd in front, Getzlaf back to the point. Ladd's a big body. We'll see it again here. Boschman has no chance. He's looking for the puck even after it comes out of the back of the net. Here it is, a shot from the point again. Patience, Landol out to one-timer right here. Huge shot. Well, that's why they're up 1-0 right there. Great goaltending and a huge power play goal. Here's a great save by Boschman. Down low, cross crease pass. Boschman gets across, gets big, gets down low, and the Hitmen are up 1-0 after 1 period.
Jim, Dustin Kahn got the second assist on that goal. This 17-year-old now has 13 points in 21 games played. He's a defenseman. He's amongst the top 6 in that category in the WHL. This 17-year-old is really showing some promising things for the Calgary Hitmen.
Well, the first important thing about Dustin Kahn is he's such a great skater. He really trusts himself, and when he gets in trouble, he just believes he can work himself back out of trouble with his great skating. And I think I was talking to Kelly last night on the trip, and he talked about how his puck play, his stick play is getting so much better. He's a much better defenseman, moving pucks out of his own zone and defending in his own zone. So I think he's going to become a great player. Here's a look at the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. They're making a couple additions to next year's group, and here we go from St. John, New Brunswick, where the Calgary Flames had their minor league team for the better part of 8, 9, 10 years, and then all the way out to St. John's, Newfoundland. And I'll tell you, that's a long ways from home for a lot of those boys, but what an outstanding part of the world to play in. They're going to get a whole culture out there. 200 miles off the coast of St. John's, Newfoundland is where the Titanic went down, and there's just a great history out there in Newfoundland, and it'll be a great addition, both great additions actually, to the Quebec Major Junior League.
St. John, New Brunswick, St. John's, Newfoundland, and I understand in St. John, New Brunswick, which you're real familiar with, Jim, of course you were the head coach of the Calder Cup champion St. John Flames, that there's 2 or 3 different groups that are trying to get the rights to that franchise there.
Well, that's great for the competitive spirit of the community. I think when you can turn and you can see and recognize where teams are, there's lots of people out there interested in buying hockey teams. The growth of the sport is taken off, and I know the National League isn't going, but certainly the future looks bright when there's other owners out there looking to buy teams.
Dean Evison and Kelly Kissio getting set for the second. So is Ray-Jan Boscheman. Jim Playfair, when are you guys going to go back to work? I love having you in the booth. But, boy, everyone listening tonight or watching on Shaw TV in Saskatchewan or Alberta are going, yeah, I wish the NHL would get back to business a whole lot sooner than later.
Well, it's frustrating, but I think, for kids like Boscheman and the rest of the team, there's a lot of GMs and scouts and extra scouting that's going on in a building like Calgary. It's so centrally located. For that matter, for that part of it, it's excellent. But I think for us, I know that Good now and the player agents are meeting here in Chicago on the 17th of this month, and hopefully coming out of that, there'll be a little more pressure turned up. And I think there's a sense of urgency coming into the middle of November, into early December. Nobody wants to lose a season. Everybody wants to get this thing done, and it's a matter of getting after it.
Flames assistant coach, our color analyst, Jim Playfair from the Saddle Dome tonight through 20. The Calgary Hitmen have a 1-0 lead against the visiting Prince Albert Raiders on a power play goal by Ryan Getzlaf, Kahn, and Landolt. with the helpers on that goal. And here we go with the second period. Remember, we begin the second period 4 skaters aside for the first 25 seconds. It's gathered up by Getzlaf, and he'll bring it to the Raider line. Shoots, that goes off the arm of Osherman and is angled in the corner. 10 seconds to go in the 4-on-4 situation as it's moved ahead by Fritzshaw, back in over the Hitman line. The shot, pad save, big tasty rebound there, but no Raider able to get a shot away. Now they will. Fritzshaw comes in off the body of Spence over the glass and out of play. Daniel Spence brought into the second period quickly and busy for the Calgary Hitmen.
It's a great save. He gets big in his crease. He steps out. He challenges the shooter. He doesn't worry about anybody else that's coming into his paint. He steps up and does a great. He goes down. He's big, down low. David Marcoux, our goaltender coach, says 2/3 of all NHL goals are scored in the lower third part of the net, and he certainly should know a little bit about goaltending.
I would think so. 45 seconds into the second period of play. Brett Carson moves it in behind Daniel Spence. Back into the neutral ice area. Schultz for Covington. Covington can't come up with it. Merkley reaching for it. Riley Merkley had 3 goals in the Hitmen's 7-2 win over the Vancouver Giants on Sunday night. His first ever Western Hockey League hat trick. And tonight he's going again with Solaski and Covington, and they try to knock it deep in over the Raider line. Jeff Schultz chips it into the corner. Solaski after it. Covington as well. Novak's there. Along the boards with May. 4 or 5 players battling in the corner. May and Covington continue to battle to play deep in the Raiders zone. Seitzinen brought it out front, but Schaefer gets it back, and he'll carry it in behind the Raider net. Covington after it along the boards, leaves it in the corner. Covington getting it back, able to beat Novak to the puck. Puck in behind the Raider net, and Aki Seitzinen will lift it off the right boards and all the way down. This will be icing against the Raiders, and you know a lot about Aki Seitzinen.
Dave Manson, one of the great people in the National Hockey League, and still back in the game. He had the perfect disposition as a defenseman. He was mean, he was ornery, he had a great level of intensity with him, but off the ice you could not find a nicer human being. And I think one of his best years was with Mike Keenan as the head coach, and he understood what Mike wanted, and Mike really pushed him to become the better player that he thought he could become, and it certainly boded well for Dave in his career in the National Hockey League.
Who says you can't go home? Dave Manson played junior with the Prince Albert Raiders, went on to a 15-year career in the NHL, and he comes back as the assistant coach of the Prince Albert Raiders.
Hey, it's something the league's trying to identify, and that's a little bit better alumni association. And you look around the league, we're trying to get a lot more coaches that played in the league back in the league, and a guy like Dave is just he's a hidden gem for the PA Raiders. I'll tell you, he'll be a great coach for these young kids.
That's a good combination. Peter Anholt and Dave Manson with the Prince Albert Raiders. Anholt is one of the most experienced head coaches in the history of the Western Hockey League, Jim.
How about a good cop, bad cop scenario? You want to find a better one than that?
And a penalty coming up, 2 minutes and 38 seconds into the second period. Hitman leading 1-0. A boarding penalty coming up, and for the 5th time, the Hitmen are on their way to the penalty box. We'll see the Raider power play one more time. And it's a little bit like playing with fire, playing with this Raider power play.
Well, it certainly is. Muskluck's back in the penalty box for 2 more minutes. But I'll tell you something. Over the last 5 to 7 years, the boarding call has certainly taken on life of its own. There's so many more boarding calls called. And I think it's the referee's job to protect these kids, whether they go in neck first or face first. They obviously want to protect that. But there's certainly a fine line between competing hard for loose pucks and Mr. Kessel is not very happy.
You're reading my mind. The head coach and the general manager not happy about that call, obviously. And there's more penalties coming up. Right before the puck was dropped, a little bit of jostling on the way to the penalty box for the Hitmen. Lee Solaski, Kane Pierpoint for the Prince Albert Raiders.
Well, this is certainly something the Hitmen don't want to get into. They don't want to get into a game of forever rolling back into the penalty box, losing players, taxing their penalty killers, and taxing their 4-on-4 unit. So it's something they have to gain discipline within, and certainly PA feel the same way coming off a road trip.
Raider 5th power play of the night. It comes into tonight's game, the Raider power play, with 15 power play goals. And operating at 14.4%. The Hitman penalty kill before tonight's game, right in the middle of the pack in the Western Hockey League at 85.4%. Raiders trying to tie it up with the extra attacker, Aki Seitzinen. Plays it over on the right side for May. Yakboski, Kahn, O'Malley, and Merkley, the penalty killers for the Hitman. Seitzinen, Flames draft choice, has it at the point. Throws it on goal. Blocker saved by Spence. And it's gathered up by Jeremy Colleton. 1:15 to go on the Raider power play. DePape to Chipchura. Chipchura back to the point. Walking in, sights it and shot. It was redirected and it goes into the left corner. Play in the corner. Raiders in the power play. Kahn reaching for it. Merkley after it, and Merkley will get it, and he sends it down. 1 minute left in the Raider power play as Boscheman will move it out to his own line. Jeremy Colleton drops it back in behind the Raider net for May, and May will move it right down the middle lane of the Saddle Dome before he finds a pass to Colleton, who couldn't control. Carson gets it back, and he sends it back to the Raider line.
You know, that's an area of PA's game they got to get a lot better at. Here they are. They're out there on the power play, a chance to push the game back even in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, and they're not making crisp hard passes. They got to get sharper. Boscheman, something we talked about last night at the game. Too often now, the goaltenders in the Western Hockey League are freezing pucks that are shot in outside the blue line. The referees need to step in and start making those calls. They can't be delaying the game that much.
Dean Evison, a former head coach of the Kamloops Blazers and the Vancouver Giants.
Dean Evison ground out a hard-working career in the National Hockey League, 13 years, and that's what he talks about bringing to the table with his team. He's had the history of coaching in the Kamloops in the Western League. He's been in Vancouver. Certainly now the timeout called by the PA Raiders. The smart move by PA. They recognize they're not sharp. They got to be crisp. Kelly Kissio stands back with that arms crisscross mode, saying, just get this thing done and get our game back on track.
Raiders on their 5th power play chance. They're 0 for 4. They trail 1-0, and Peter Anholt wants to regroup his troops. With 38 seconds to go on the power play, they have a chance to tie it up. Back to Dean Evison, the co-coach of the Calgary Hitmen.
This many power plays.
Five different teams in the NHL, and I think just such a great fit for the Hitmen with Kelly Kissio on the bench in his first season behind the bench.
Well, it certainly adds experience to authority, and I think that's what the Hitmen or the Hitmen were after when they made the combination of coaching staff. So hopefully it plays out and they grow and learn from each other.
It adds experience to authority. I got to write that down. I like that one. Puck inside the Raiders zone. There's 20 seconds to go on the Prince Albert power play, but they are yet to gain control and get any chances with the extra man. Hitmen send it back down. Only 10 seconds to go on the Raider power play. They trail 1-0. 4.5 minutes into the second period. May will send it to the Raider line. Harder after it. Getzlaf as well. We're back at even strength as Moskaluk comes out of the penalty box, and the Hitmen penalty kill 5 for 5. Very good so far in this game in the Saddle Dome. Tyler Harder inside the red line, trying to move it ahead. Doucette gets it, and he brings it back in with Colleton. Colleton shoots. That goes off the body of the Hitman goaltender Spence, and is moved ahead by Brett O'Malley. O'Malley moves it back up ice. The 20-year-old for the Hitman. 3.5 years with Lethbridge, the last year and a half in Calgary. Here's a chance. They score! Good players can finish, and Ryan Getzlaf just finished that one as he whipped it behind Boscheman. 2-0 for the Calgary Hitman.
That's why Ryan Getzlaf is going to play in the National Hockey League. He made this play deep down in the defensive zone of the rink. The puck come around the boards. He went down low. Here's the replay where he gets up the ice to finish it off. But he gets down low instead of rimming the puck out. He has a quick look. He puts it on the tape, moves it up the ice. Then he gets on his horse, and he raced from the bottom of his goal line all the way to the blue pin at the other end of the rink, because deep down he's got a heavy focus on what it takes to be a successful player. That's why Ryan Getzlaf is the best player in the WHL right now, and that's why he's going to be a great NHL player.
Second goal of the night. Hitmen lead 2-0, his 13th of the campaign. He entered tonight's game 3 points behind the leader in the WHL scoring race, a two-way tie. Stone of Brandon, Keller of Saskatoon. It's really tight at the top of the WHL scoring race. Getzlaf with 2 goals tonight, and he has just been soaring up the chart. 2 weeks ago, he was about 25th in Western Hockey League scoring, but he's on a 6-game point streak that now includes 14 points. And he has definitely turned it up here in the month of November for the Calgary Hitmen. They lead 2-0 against the Prince Albert Raiders. Fired back in by the Raiders. Carson will angle it in the corner. Along the boards, Brandon Pete for Prince Albert trying to push it back to the point. Schaefer knocks it back into the corner. Carson battling in the corner. Moskaluk there for the Hitmen as well with Josh Elder. Elder and Moskaluk continue to battle deep in the Hitman zone. Puck goes in behind Daniel Spence, and Jeff Schultz has a little bit of room, but he's got to move it quickly off the glass and back outside the Hitman line. Sent back in by Slinker, but it's offside at the Hitman line. 2-0 for the Calgary Hitmen. You are watching Big Four Motors Hockey on Shaw TV.
Okay, let's try that one more time.
13:44 left in the second period. Ryan Getzlaf, the captain of the Calgary Hitmen, a first-round draft choice of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, has both goals in this game. Hitmen at home with a 2-0 lead. 6.5 minutes into the middle frame. Doucette looks up ice, and he's able to find a streaking Raider by the name of Brad Erickson, who brings it in. Back to the point. That shot handled by Spence. Walking in with a chance, 17-year-old Jeff May. But Daniel Spence came out and challenged and made a good stop on Jeff May.
Daniel Spence does a very good job again. He recognizes he's got back pressure, steps up, he's square to the shooter. Very good job of the defenders. They got to pick people up, keep people wide. He sees the puck the whole way. He's got to make that stop. It's a simple play for him when he's in good position, and he's got confidence.
Langley, British Columbia native, at his sixth start in the Western Hockey League as a 16-year-old. He has a record of 2-1-2 at Eastman Sharp tonight. The Raiders are out shooting the Calgary Hitmen 13-8, but the Hitmen at home leading 2-0. This is game 6 of 7 straight at home for the Calgary Hitmen. They have 2 wins and 3 ties. They are on a 5-game unbeaten streak, and they have a 2-goal lead here in the second period as Stephen Covington moves it back to the Raider line. Covington will dump it in. Riley Merkley chases after it. Gauthier after it as well. Covington picks it up in behind Beauchemin. Stephen Covington comes out front. Back to the point. Yakboski, who had 2 against Vancouver on Sunday, throws that on goal, but it's knocked away by Beauchemin. Yakboski and Colleton battle 10 feet inside the Raider line, and it's lifted all the way back to the Hitman line. Cott has to hurry, pressured by Pierpoint. Cott and Pierpoint continue to battle. Pierpoint kicking for it there for the Raiders as well. Aki Seitsinen. Solaski after it for the Calgary Hitmen. Solaski and Seitsinen bang along the boards. O'Malley and Seitsinen continue inside the Hitman line. Play on the left wing as it's frozen deep in the Hitman zone.
Well, the overall standings of WHL Medicine Hat, the story behind their team, the identity of their team obviously is 6 shutouts, 2 losses all season. Red Deer, Brent Sutter doesn't believe in rebuilding, he believes in blending the young kids with the older kids, and that's why he's able to stay up on top. Saskatoon, last year they had 7 wins all season long. Lauren Malkin's got in there and done a fabulous job. In Calgary, rated number 3, they're right where they belong, up high in the standings, and they got to make a push on the homestand, as we talked about prior to going on the road.
Hitmen are starting to run with the big dogs, Jim Playfair.
Well, they are. They certainly recognize that the price of poker goes up when you're rated high, and I think after they figured out that their best players had to be their best players, they were able to make a better push.
It's interesting where you were when you were going through that graph. You mentioned Medicine Hat, Red Deer, Saskatoon, and Calgary as the top 4 teams points-wise in the Western Hockey League, and 3 of the 4 come from one division in the Central. Medicine Hat, Red Deer, and the Calgary Hitmen, who lead here against the Prince Albert Raiders 2-0. As Luke Fritshaw, the 20-year-old, takes it in behind the Raider net. Fritshaw, along with Pierpoint and Slinker, are the 20-year-olds for the Raiders this season. It's turned over at the red line, and here comes 16-year-old Keegan Dansereau with Getzlaf and Ladd. Dansereau after it in the corner, back to Harder, redirected by Ladd. Harder trying to keep it in. He sends it into the left corner, and the Raider defenseman Landon Jones will move it in behind his goaltender Rajan Beauchemin. We are 9 minutes into the second period, and a penalty coming up. This will be against the Prince Albert Raiders. Daryl Moskaluk sends it in. Spence goes to the bench for the extra attacker. Ryan Getzlaf jumps onto the ice. The extra attacker is on the ice, and it's touched by a Raider. And the Calgary Hitmen 0 for 2 on the power play tonight. They have a 2-0 lead, and their 3rd power play chance coming up.
Well, this again is good hard work shift in PA's zone. They're starting to wear them down now. PA understands how hard it is to score goals, and mentally, whether you want to admit it or not, it's a tough mountain to climb now. They're on the road, their third game in 4 days, and there's Dave Manson. His responsibility now as a coach on the bench is to get his players back believing that they're one goal away from pushing this game into being an exciting game again. They got to understand it's a huge penalty kill for PA, and they recognize it, and that's the coach's responsibility. Remind them of the details that are required on the penalty kill.
Back to the point. Carson plays it to Covington. Covington moves it into the corner, and it comes back to Carson. Carson will shoot right on. Rajan Boscheman will make the save. The Calgary Hitmen are 1 for 2 on the power play. In their third power play chance, Brett Carson in his 4th year in the Western Hockey League.
Carson does a good job. He moves his feet, he changes his shooting angle, and all he does is get the puck through to a playable puck down the net. You can't always have the big slappers in the back of the point, but if you can get pucks down low, playable pucks, hard to handle pucks, foot and a half off the ice, that's where we're going to get rebound goals, and that's what the defensemen are instructed to do.
Jeff Schultz for Covington. Covington in the right corner on the power play behind the net. Coming out front, Merkley. Back to the point for Carson. He's going to shoot this one, and it goes off the body of a sprawling Kane Pierpoint over the glass and net of play.
Again, there he is, the same idea. Kane Pierpoint understands this is a huge penalty kill for the PA. They know they get this penalty kill done. They're going to bring some juice back to their team, and I think he goes down to block shots. He tells players, listen, regardless of the score, we got a job to do out here, and I think that's where they're going to, hopefully over the course of the season, develop their confidence in each other.
Sean Landel digs in for the face-off, wins it back to Dustin Kahn. 1:20 to go on the Hitman power play. They lead it 2-0, and we are at the halfway mark of the second period. Raiders send it down. Spence comes out of the net. Jeremy Colleton was after it. Here's a short-handed chance, but the Raiders were unable to get the shot on goal as Aki Seitsenin was moving in towards Daniel Spence. Dustin Kahn takes it in behind Spence. For Ryan Getzlaf, he has the only 2 goals of the game. Hitman leading 2-0. Still a minute to go on the power play. Landel to Ladd. Ladd in the left corner. Hitman trying to set up a high percentage shot. Back to Kahn. Getzlaf pressured, but he's able to move it on the wing as the Hitmen keep it in. Landolt fakes the shot. Landolt trying to move it way across into the right corner for Konstantin Pushkarov. Back to Kahn. Getzlaf to Kahn. They throw it back and forth. Shot off the blocker of Boscheman and into the left corner. 30 seconds to go on the penalty to the Raiders as it's lifted and cleared by Nolan Waker. Back to the Calgary Hitman blue line. Getzlaf throws it across ice for Andrew Ladd, and he's going to bring it in. Andrew Ladd on out front. A great chance for Moskaluk, who's stopped by Boscheman. That's a big stop for Boscheman, or it could have been 3-0 for the Calgary Hitmen. 13 seconds left on the power play chance with Landon Jones in the penalty box.
Great play by Ladd. He's patient, gets a puck right through the slot. Moskaluk gets behind the defenseman, gets a stick on the puck going to the net, and Boscheman makes a huge save. Both these goaltenders have allowed this game to stay 2-0. They've done a very good job of closing the door and allowing their teams to create more scoring chances on the other end of the rink.
Shot clock very close, 13-12 for the Prince Albert Raiders. Hitman power play, you see the numbers. There's 13 seconds left on this power play chance. Isaac Reed, one of 5 16-year-olds for the Hitmen out there on this power play chance. What's left of it, 13 seconds. The referee Kyle Raymond was over at the penalty box. Everything's set now, and the puck will be dropped to the stick side of Boscheman. Hitmen win the draw. Back to Tyler Harder. His shot redirected. It went off a 6'4" Isaac Reed, the 16-year-old that I was just referring to. Danzero. Back to Moskaluk. His shot off the penalty coming up. Jones is out of the penalty box. The second he comes out of the penalty box, there's another one coming up. And we'll be back. This is Big Four Motors Hockey on Shaw TV.
Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, where quality and service are always in fashion. Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, Scotia Centre and South Centre Mall.
Dave Manson and his team shorthanded for the second consecutive time. Hitman back on the power play.
What do you think Dave Manson's nickname was?
You tell me.
Charlie.
Oh, that's too easy. Charlie Manson, as you said earlier, a heck of a nice guy. I talked to Charlie Manson a couple of times today, if that's the case. Puck comes back to Schultz. Over to Carson. His shot handled by Boscheman. And it will be dropped to the right side of Rajan Boscheman, who is looking for perhaps, well, quite frankly, more consistent play in goal for the Raiders this season.
Well, I think when your goaltender has to be your best player, it has to be your best. He has to be your best player each and every night. And he come out of the World Junior Camp this year feeling good about himself, and perhaps he got looking too far to the future. But again, that's part of maturity. That's part of a young team developing. And Peter Anholt, being the veteran coach that he is, will certainly guide him through those rough waters and allow him to develop into a great goaltender that his potential says he should get.
Peter Anholt's concern is not the World Junior team. His concern is Rajan Boscheman and the Prince Albert Raiders, correct?
Definitely it is, and I think that's what happens. Is you have to understand it's a day-to-day process.
Another penalty coming up, and another penalty coming up against the Raiders. The Hitmen are going to have a 5-on-3 for the first time in the game. They have a 2-0 lead, and there's a minute and 18 left on the original penalty to Gauthier. And now a 5-on-3 situation for the Hitmen.
Well, this is obviously a pressure point in the game. I think as a coach, you talk and help your players recognize who has pressure, where is pressure. And here the puck gets thrown back to the net. There's a battle in front, and people are getting knocked down, hauled down, and Seitzman gets a stick up a little bit high, and he ends up in the penalty box. But obviously a 5-on-3 is a huge time for a kill.
Nice save by Boscheman. It was going just wide of the net, but he reached for it and hauled it in from Sean Landolt at a 5-on-3 situation for the Hitmen. Big power play opportunity for the Hitmen, really, to put some pressure on the Prince Albert Raiders, who are already up 2-0 with 8 minutes to go in the second period. Fritshaw tracking down a loose puck, and he's able to clear, and it goes all the way back to the Hitman line. After it, Waker, he'll send it in behind Spence. A minute to go in the first penalty, a minute and 40 to go in the second Raider penalty. A 5-on-3 chance for the Hitman now, and here they come. Dustin Kahn, Ryan Getzlaf, Sean Landolt on this power play along with Andrew Ladd. Kahn at the point, pressured. It comes back to the right point, and Konstantin Pushkarev is able to keep it in. Pushkarev throwing it on the back door for Getzlaf, and he doesn't miss too many of those. It went under the blade of his stick as he tried to get it away quickly. Back to Kahn at the point. 30 seconds on the first penalty, a minute and 10 on the second. Pushkarev losing it in the corner, battling to keep it in. Comes back to the point. Kahn moves it to the left side. Shot goes off the side of the net. Landolt will get it back. 15 seconds to go on the 5-on-3. Dustin Kahn at the right point. Fakes the shot. Moves it to Pushkarev. They score! Andrew Ladd, the first rounder of the Carolina Hurricanes. He extends his point streak to 6 games. Power play goal. 3-0 for the Calgary Hitmen.
Hey, the poise of Kahn right here, down low to Pushkarev, who's very patient, quick, one no-look pass out to Ladd on front. I'll tell you, Pushkarev might be one of the best players in the Western Canada Hockey League. From the bottom of the circles on the power play, does a very good job. He super pass cross ice to Getzlaf that he missed, and the next time he had a chance to make a great play down there, he puts it on Ladd's stick, who's got a great quick release, and there they are, 3-0 with 50 seconds left on the power play.
Andrew Ladd is 9th of the campaign. He had 30 in the regular season last year. And the Calgary Hitmen have 2 power play goals and a 3-0 lead. And to your point, as they move it up ice, still 37 seconds to go with the extra attacker. Here comes O'Malley, but it's offside. An interference penalty coming up, and this will be against the Hitmen. Obstruction interference. 6:38 left in the second. 34 seconds were left on the penalty to Aki Seitzinen. And Stephen Covington arguing the call from Kyle Raymond, who's a school teacher during the day and a referee at night. But he sends Covington to the penalty box.
Well, Covington's playing a stretch play on the power play breakout. He's trying to stretch his zone as far as possible. He gets to the far blue line, and as he's coming across to create a lane for his partner up behind him, he takes the feet out from underneath the defender, and he's in the box for 2.
A lot of people were really happy for Stephen Covington when the Detroit Red Wings drafted him in the 6th round of the NHL entry draft. It was like hard work pays off sometimes.
Well, Detroit certainly understands they have the ability to buy the high-end players, but they got to manufacture and build and develop the 3rd and 4th line hard-working guys that make up the identity of your team. And he's certainly a great pick for Detroit, and a lot of hard work. He certainly could end up playing for a long time.
Brody Dupont drives to the net. Now he does a little bit of pushing and shoving with Evan Schaefer, and the 2 linesmen are going to separate. And Rajan Boscheman has been busy tonight. Shots on goal, 17-13 for the Calgary Hitmen, and this guy just goes hard every night in his rookie season.
He's a competitive player. He has a nose to the net. He goes hard to the net here. He gets a stick up. He makes a push. Evan Schaefer just came back from a broken jaw, so he can't get into it right now. He needs to make sure he's fully healed before he goes. He's a draft pick of the Florida Panthers. And Dwayne Sutter was up in Lethbridge last night having a quick boo at him. And they're a player. He's a player that the Florida Panthers have high hopes for.
1:20 to go in the Raider power play. They trail 3-0. And Seitzinen will carry it back to the Hitman line. Aki Seitzinen moves it in behind Daniel Spence. Jackowski and Pierpoint battle. Chipchura sends it back to the line. May moves it on the right wing for Chipchura. Right side, left side, Colleton. Jeremy Colleton pressured, so he'll move it back to Seitzinen. Raiders setting up on the power play. 1 minute to go with the extra attacker. Jeremy Colleton losing it. Getzlaf after it. They both slap at it, and the puck goes in behind the Hitman goal. Getzlaf getting it, and he's able to move it by Seitzinen, and down as Bocheman will move it on the wing for Aki Seitzinen.
Both teams employ a forward on the point on the power play with Seitzinen and Getzlaf, and the mindset is they're patient with the puck. They generally obviously both of these guys have great shots. The only area it gets suspect is in the last 15-20 seconds of the power play. You want to get those guys off the ice.
Jim Seitzinen is a Flames pick as he moves it up ice in the power play. You know this guy a little bit.
He's a great kid. He came to our camp. He was injured. He didn't partake in the drills, but he was medically checked out, and we had a good talk to him prior to him heading off to Prince Albert, and he's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of skill. He's a big body. He's a big player. Again, same thing with Aki. He just has to understand it's an all-day, everyday deal.
Second year in the Western Hockey League. He's from Finland. He's a draft choice of the Flames. And Lee Solaski talking about knowing how to work and do it every day. That was sheer work as he lugged it from the red line all the way in, going full speed ahead, and kept going. And it's 4-0 as Solaski knocks one home.
Same program again. The Hitman pushed the puck up the ice, and Solaski just stayed with it. I don't think he even knew he scored. He was trying to go back and take the puck on the rebound, but he did a good job. He put his head down. He took the puck to the net hard. He didn't get a great shot off, but he got enough on. He found the 5-hole on Bocheman. And here we go again. Another little beef going on.
This time, Tyler Harder will drop the mitts against Landon Jones. They're at the Raider blue line, and here they go. Tyler Harder and Jones as they lean in. Harder lands an uppercut, and that backed Jones up. And Jones is going to throw some rights of his own and throw an uppercut or two. This is a spirited fight. These two guys really going at it. And finally, the linesmen will separate. Jim Playfair, you know, Tyler Harder had a concussion only a couple of weeks ago. He came back and played off that concussion against Vancouver on Sunday. Had a fight against the Giants. His second game back, a fight against the Raiders tonight.
Well, that's one of the things about the Western Canada Hockey League that's unique to maybe perhaps every other league in the world is the players come out here, they believe that when the puck drops, it's about battles, whether it's puck battles or physical battles. And when they get pushed around in the game score-wise, players internally just start taking it upon themselves. I need to help stand up for my team and make an impression. Here we go. Jones goes at it with Harder, and they're throwing some haymakers. They're throwing some heavy, hard punches, and again, it's the uniqueness of the league, and it's what competitive teams do. And I think this is something now that you're going to see. Either the PA Raiders are going to push up the tempo here, or this game is all but over for the PA, and they're going to sit back and take another loss tonight.
Tyler Harder really wants to prove to Dean Evison and Kelly Kissio, look, I can play, because he was in the Brandon Wheat Kings system for 2 or 3 years, only played a couple of games. Hitman made a trade with the Wheat Kings at the time. Harder was playing Junior A in Manitoba. He gets a chance to come back to the Western Hockey League, and he wants to make everything he can of that opportunity. Pushkarev shoots and scores! Konstantin Pushkarev, and is waved off.
Goalie interference. I believe it was Ladd had back right in on top of Bocheman, and Pushkarev seen that whole top corner open and let a hell of a wrist shot go. But the goal is waved off.
There was a delayed penalty. Spence was on the bench.
Penalty will stand. It'll be a high sticking penalty, I believe. But the goal is definitely waved off. Bocheman got pushed on his seat of his pants right in the blue paint. So I think that we'll catch it on the replay.
The Calgary Hitmen have a 4-0 lead. Getzlaf is a pair, Ladd and Solaski. And Kelly Kitsiol at his club having a successful homestand, but he's curious as to why that one by Pushkarev was waved off.
That would be the call right there, and perhaps he wasn't put on a seat. I would suspect right here that...
Interesting. The crowd has the same read that Kelly Kitsiol when they play it again on Jumbotron. We play it again on Shaw TV, but some boos when they got to see that one again in the Saddle Dome.
I'm a little surprised in the called back goal the faceoff doesn't come outside.
That's a good point. 4 skaters aside, coincidental minors. In the penalty box for the Raiders is Mike Gauthier. For the Calgary Hitmen, Daryl Moskalek in the penalty box for the 3rd time tonight. Raiders trailing by 4. They bring it back inside the Hitmen zone. Just under 4 minutes to go in the second period. Konstantin Pushkarev stops as he hits the blue line. Pushkarev pressured, so he'll leave it for Schultz. Carson will move it up ice. Brett Carson lifts it in, and it will bounce into the left corner. Fritz Shaw back after it for the Raiders. Hitman making changes on the fly. Pushkarev after it, battling with Fritz Shaw. Pushkarev with a good effort, almost threw it out front. Riley Merkley digging along the boards as well. 4 players fighting in behind Boscheman. Kahn pinched in. He's able to keep it in at the right point. On the backhand, he'll send it into Pushkarev. Fritz Shaw chases after it. Merkley there. Merkley for Pushkarev. Pushkarev trying to get loose in behind the Raider net. He's all tied up, and it's picked up by the Raider player, Ottman, and he moves it off the left boards and back to the Hitman line. Penalty coming up against the Prince Albert Raiders with 3 minutes to go in the second period. Hitmen have a 4-0 lead. It's touched by Chipchura, the first-round draft choice of the Montreal Canadiens, and the Hitmen set to go back to work on the power play.
Frustrating game to watch as a fan. You continually wonder every whistle, is it a game whistle or is it a penalty whistle? And a lot of penalties in this game. However, when your power play is clicking, it's fun for the home team.
And the Hitman power play is definitely clicking in this game. 3 of their 4 goals with the extra attacker. And this will be a 4-on-3 situation. O'Malley digs in for the draw, wins it. Covington will play it to Kahn. 2:45 to go in the second. And Ryan Getzlaf, who has a pair, moves it just beyond the reach of Dustin Kahn. May is back for the Raiders. Kahn trying to keep it in. Pressured along the boards by Colleton. And Colleton hauled down in the neutral ice area by Kahn. No penalty. And Getzlaf has a little bit of room, so he's going to carry it to the Raider line. Ryan Getzlaf setting up inside the Prince Albert zone to Kahn. Back to Getzlaf. Kahn's one-timer. Doesn't get much on it, and it goes wide of the net. A 4-on-3 situation, and it's sent down by the Raiders. 9 seconds to go on the original 2 penalties. It is quickly going to turn into a 5-on-4. 2:10 to go in the second period. Icing against the Calgary Hitmen.
By the goaltender.
By the goaltender, Daniel Spence, who likes to play the puck.
Well, that's fine, but he has to realize now all they need is puck possession to carry the puck up through the ice in a 4-on-3, and that's something where Ryan Getzlaf is talking to him right now, saying, leave the puck for us. We'll make the long passes. You make the short bumps.
Hey, he's 16. Cut him some slack.
Hey, that's what Ryan's doing. He's leading. He's telling him. He's teaching him. That's exactly what we talked. We want him to be a leader. We got to give him credit when he leads.
Puck in behind Daniel Spence. Hitman on a 5-on-4. It was a 4-on-3. Now it's a 5-on-4. They lead 4-0 with 2 minutes to go in the second period. And Brett Carson moves it back to his own line. Konstantin Pushkarev brings it in. Back to Ladd. His shot skips off the trapper of Boscheman and into the corner. Schultz has it. Dishes it off. Here comes the shot. No. Carrying it back to the point is Landolt. High and off the glass. Pushkarev out in front. Shoots. And it goes back in behind the Raider net. Jeff Schultz unable to keep it in as it was whipped away by Waker. And this time Spence will leave it in behind the Calgary Hitman goal. Another penalty coming up. 1:19 left in the second period. 26 seconds left on the penalty to Fritz Shaw. But more penalties here late in the middle frame.
You know what happens sometimes, Mark, with the referee is they start calling penalties early in the game and they set the tempo for what is and is not a penalty. And I think what happened tonight is our friendly referee got busy in the first period and now consequently he's been busy in the second period. And a lot of penalties that would be let go in a high intensity 1-0, 2-1 game, he's forced himself and backed himself into a corner, and he's making a ton of penalty calls. And this really does disrupt the flow of the game, and Kelly Kissio is letting him know. So I think this is a situation where the referee, and Mr. Ladd got 4 minutes. I'm sure that's what Kelly was expressing his displeasure about. But nonetheless, it's what happens to young referees. It's why supervisors are so important to have at the game, to educate them at the end of the game. I've always been a big believer the referees should have to watch the game with the supervisor of officials and critique themselves, no different than the players are critiqued by the coaching staff. It's a learning tool. It's there. It should be used, and we'll end up with better referees.
1:15 to go in the second period. It is a 4-on-4 situation for 16 seconds, and after that, the Raiders will go to work in the power play. 4 minutes to Andrew Ladd. Lee Solaski to Yak Bosky. There's a minute to go in the second period. The Hitmen have scored 3 unanswered goals in the period, and they lead 4-0 at home. Dustin Cotton brings it in. Here's the shot by Solaski. He has one of those 4 goals, but that one sailed over the net. Fritshaw will go from the penalty box right back to the Raider bench, and jumping out onto the ice is Jeremy Colleton. Aki Seitsonen will start the Raiders up in the power play. 35 seconds to go in the period, and here come the Raiders. They trail by 4. They'd love to get something late in the second period before the horn goes. Seitsonen plays it to Chipchura. Chipchura carries it back to the point. Colleton's one-timer handled by Spence. He's been sharp tonight. 20 seconds to go in the second period. Covington chasing after a loose puck with Seitsonen. Boscheman will come out of the net. He plays it along the boards. May pressured by Covington, and he sends it back in behind the Raider net. Aki Seitsonen dumps it back in behind the net, and the second period is in the books. A very productive one as the horn goes in the Saddle Dome for the Calgary Hitmen. 3 unanswered goals, and Stephen Covington will take his team back to the Hitmen dressing room, Jim Playfair, with a 4-0 lead.
Well, certainly that period, I think it was about skating and intensity. I think the Calgary Hitmen dominated in both areas. They won a lot of foot races to loose pucks. They certainly established their forecheck a lot better than the PA Raiders, and I think they capitalized obviously in their power plays, and that's what separated the game so far.
Jim, the power play for the Calgary Hitmen, a bit of an issue for the first 15 games of the year. So much skill on this Hitmen team. The coaches thought, the players thought the power play should really be an area of strength. It wasn't for the first 12 or 14 games of the regular season, but boy, in the last 5 or 6 games, the power play has really taken off. 3 of the 4 goals for the Hitmen tonight on the power play.
Well, the big difference in their power play was it was a skilled power play that forgot to bring the work boots, and I think now they've got the work boots strapped on. They got a simplistic plan. They go wide, down to the half wall, back to the point, and it's a shot, and everybody knows it's just going to be a shot. They got Ladd in front. They got Getzlaf shooting from the back end. They don't try and make 2 and 3 down low quick pass plays. And earlier in the season, Getzlaf and Ladd held onto the puck too long. Pushkarev held onto it too long, and they weren't executing no intensity and pressure at the net. And so, certainly, when they've decided to put Getzlaf back in the point, I think in the future that'll be the indicator of the time when their power play went down a new path and has led them to be successful.
Jim Playfair is our color analyst. He's the assistant coach of the Calgary Flames, and we're going to throw it down to the Hitmen dressing room and find Ryan Leslie.
Guys, here's Hitman right winger Stephen Covington from Maple Ridge, BC. And Stephen, a lot of people may not know this, but you grew up playing minor hockey with your cousin Andrew Ladd, who's a forward, of course, with the Hitmen. Tell me what it was like. I mean, I understand you guys grew up on the same street. You played minor hockey. Tell me about it.
Oh, for sure. You know, we've done everything our whole life together. My mom and his mom were sisters, and going out vacations, we played minor hockey together. We lived 2 seconds down the street, and I don't know, it's just been great. We're like he's like my big brother, and you know, when he got traded here, it was probably the best thing for me and him. And, you know, obviously he's gone high in the draft and I went in the draft, so it's been pretty good. I think our families really owe it to them.
Tell me about Maple Ridge, BC. What is it about fantastic athletes from that small area in British Columbia? I mean, Larry Walker, of course, Cam Neely, now yourself. I mean, you guys have to be proud of this athletic heritage.
Oh, for sure. You know, coming from a small town, too, I think it's only like 30,000, 40, so anytime you can get athletes out of your town, it's pretty cool to see that, especially with me and Ladd coming up. And, you know, we even got Morrison from the Canucks and guys like that. So, you know, we got to look up to guys like Cam Neely. So it just gives you something to work hard for, and you want to be like them when you grow up.
We appreciate your time with this, and good luck in the third period. Stephen Covington from Maple Ridge, BC.
Hitmen break things open in the second period with 3 unanswered goals. Ryan Getzlaf, his second of the evening, 14th of the season from Ladd and Brett O'Malley. at 5:05. Andrew Ladvik counts his 9th of the season. A power play goal at 13:03 from Pushkarev and Dustin Kahn. Lee Zalaski is 4th of the season at 15:24. Shots on goal through 2 periods of play by the Hitmen, 18 by the Raiders, 15. When we come back, we'll look at the goal-scoring problems in Prince Albert. You're watching Big Four Motors WHL Hockey on Shaw TV.
Play Humpty's Restaurant's Guess the Score game and you could win dinner for 2. To enter, just fill out a ballot at any Calgary area Humpty's restaurant and tell us what you think the score will be of the next Hitmen hockey game, broadcast live on Shaw TV. Humpty's, it's all good.
Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, where quality and service are always in fashion. Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, Scotia Centre and South Centre Mall. Big Four, proud sponsor of Hitmen Hockey on Shaw TV.
Okay, let's try that one more time.
Two periods are in the books tonight in Calgary. The Raiders and the Hitmen. It's the WHL on Shaw TV. There's no secret as to why the Raiders have struggled through the first half of the Western Hockey League season. They're having a horrendous time putting the puck in the net. In fact, the Raiders have been held to 1 goal or less 11 times so far this season. Keith Hopper has more on the Raiders' goal-scoring woes from Prince Albert.
The team confidence is there, but the team's record isn't. The Prince Albert Raiders are sputtering around the middle of the Eastern Division standings.
Some different things have come up that, for one, I don't think we've competed as hard as we've seen our team compete over, and we kind of got used to seeing our team compete. So that has to be rectified, and you know, I think our discipline hasn't been what it has been in the past too, and you know, so that's an area of concern. And
we're a better team than that, and you know, I haven't played as well I think since the start of the year as we'd like to. So you know, hopefully we can get things turned around and start playing better, and the wins will come.
Even with the season still in its early stages, the Raiders are not pointing fingers at anyone.
Well, nobody takes the losses harder than our leadership. I think they understand and are as disappointed as anybody around Prince Albert. So, you know, that part. But, you know, I think the thing is that you've got to continue to lead with example and speak, you know, your mind when it's time to speak up. But, you know, they've handled it well. But,
you know, I think it's just our job as a leadership group to, you know, get things turned around and not to accept losing. And, you know, we had a good year last year, and I think that as a team we learned how to win, and we just have to go through that same sort of situation again, and hopefully, you know, as a group, the young guys will follow. The young guys have been playing well for us. You know, they're playing hard. We haven't been hurt at all by our fourth line and our young D-men, and I think that it's just the older guys that have to carry the load.
We just as a team have to play better. We haven't played well as a team, and I don't think that we've competed hard enough on a regular basis. We've had some spurts, but we haven't done it for 60 minutes like we kind of got used to seeing. And to win in this league, you have to battle hard and be better than the other team.
Confidence still high in the dressing room?
Yeah, you know, I think that we're confident we have a good team. We think we're going to be there at the end, and I think that's important. As a group, we have to believe that we're going to play better, and that we can play better.
You're watching the WHL on Shaw TV.
Can you recognize the MVP on this team? Visit RBC.com to find out how the RBC Local Hockey Leaders Program recognizes volunteers in your community. RBC Insurance. First for you.
Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, where quality and service are always in fashion. Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, Scotia Centre and South Centre Mall. It's Game On. Big 4 presents Hitman Hockey live on Shaw TV. Sponsored in part by Urban Dispatch and Options Bar and Lounge.
We're through 40 minutes of play tonight in Calgary. The Hitmen and the Prince Albert Raiders on Shaw TV. Joined in studio now with Western Hockey League Vice President Rick Dirksen upstairs, along with birthday boy Mark Stiles, who's celebrating the big number 40. Well, I guess that was yesterday.
Easy
How's it going, Mark? How do you feel about that?
Well, you don't have enough time in this interview, Dave, for me to answer all those questions. But maybe Rick's already had that number. I don't know. You're the young guy in the group.
I'll have to get information from you, Mark. I'm getting there.
Let's talk some hockey, guys. Rick, a big turnaround in Saskatoon this year. The Blades won 7 games last year, already 12 this season. It seems as if the excitement has really returned.
It's been a tremendous start for the Saskatoon Blades. Of course, last year was just a very dismal year for the team. Over the years, they've always been a fairly strong contender in the Western Hockey League. And by bringing back Lauren Mulligan as coach has been a tremendous step for the Blades. Of course, in the early 90s, when Mooner, as we affectionately know him as, was coaching, they had some tremendous teams, and they seemed to just always run up against the Kamloops Blazer club that was just a little bit better in our league championship series. But as you mentioned, they've already almost doubled their win total from last year. They have 12 wins. And if they happen to win tonight against Tri-Cities, they will equal their entire output of 27 points from last season, 1 quarter into our schedule this year.
Hey, Mark, was this turnaround expected?
Well, I echo, Dave, what Rick just said. When you bring Lauren Mulligan back, you know good things are going to happen. He brings a longtime assistant coach with him out of Regina as well, and Chad Mercier. And you know what? I think just the fact that you bring a guy that's been in the Western Hockey League, he knows the league inside and out. And the other thing is he has so much NHL experience. What a credit to the Western Hockey League, though, to have a guy that was coaching with Eddie Olchuk last year in Pittsburgh, leaves the Penguins, a team owned by Mario Lemieux, coaching Mario Lemieux last year, and all of a sudden he's coaching the Saskatoon Blades this year. So to answer your question in short, there was I don't think any question that they were going to be better. I mean, just having that much experience behind the bench, and you knew the team would be better. But I will tell you, no question in my mind, I don't know how Rick feels, that they have not got better. They've just got real good in a hurry. So I'm a little bit surprised that they've made this many strides that quick. I knew they'd be better. I just didn't think they'd be that good that quick.
And really, Mark, when you look at their roster, it's very similar to the roster of last year. Again, 2 of their key players, Ryan Keller and Wasey Rabbit, are right up in the top of our scoring parade this year. Again, both players did not have very good seasons last year. They're getting tremendous leadership from Mike Green on the back end. Their goaltending has been solid, and Lauren Mulligan has just done a good job getting them all to believe that they can play and compete every night.
Well, you're talking about a team, guys, that plays a 72-game schedule. In 72 games last year, they had 7 wins. They've gone from that. I mean, you got to think about that. 7 wins in 72 games. That's a long season. They've gone from that to a national ranking. That's how good it's been in Saskatoon. And Medicine Hat, Rick, geez, league champions last year. I don't think anybody thought I think everyone thought they were going to be real good again, but the fact that they're 13-2, what a start. I mean, just a fabulous start in Medicine Hat this year.
Yeah, Rick, I just want to add, I mean, the Tigers did lose some key players in the offseason. Did anybody expect them to be this good and this good defensively?
Well, I think, first of all, keep in mind, when you have a nucleus coming back with Clark MacArthur and Stephen Meyer up front, Cam Barker on the blue line and Kevin Nastiak in goal, and all 4 of those players were on, key integral parts of winning the championship team last year, we knew they were going to have a pretty good club this year. And with the job Willie Desjardins has done in, molding the rest of those players, Brett Robertson, some of the other young guys have really stepped up. We knew they were going to be good, perhaps not quite as good as they've come out of the gate. The job they've done on the back end and with Kevin Nastic in goal has been nothing short of sensational. He's allowing 1 goal a game through the first 16 or 17 games of the season, which is almost unheard of. He has 6 shutouts already, which is on pace to break all records for goals against shutouts in our league. And again, with the power up front, although they're not quite as wide open perhaps as they were last year, they're still a lot of fun to watch. They really come to play, and they are capable of really opening it up.
Mark, is it good stuff watching that team with the defensive style that they play in Medicine Hat?
I don't know if they play a defensive style necessarily, Dave. They're a good hockey team, and they can score a boatload of goals. But Rick, I know we're running out of time, but quickly, is goal scoring an issue in the Western Hockey League or not at all? But I do know you have a committee that has been talking about a number of things hockey related, and I'm curious if that WHL committee has discussed the lack of goals or if it's even on the agenda.
Well, you're exactly right. We have put a committee together. It's called the Special Hockey Committee. Kelly McCrimmon of the Brandon Wheat Kings is the chairman. Kelly Kissue of the Calgary Hitmen, pardon me, and Tim Speltz of the Spokane Chiefs are on the committee along with Commissioner Ron Robison and myself. We've had several meetings, and what we're trying to do is not only goal scoring, but look at all facets of the Western Hockey League, our schedule, our player recruitment, our alumni, the overall quality of the game, all the different things that make our game so great. And what we're trying to do is ask some key people, whether they be NHL personnel, whether they be parents of present players, player agents, etc. What can we do to make our game, continue to make it better? And it'll be a year-long process, and hopefully by next year at our annual meeting we'll be able to bring forth recommendations to our Board of Governors for implementation into the 2005-06 season.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Good stuff, Dave. Thanks.
4 other games around the Western Hockey League tonight. The out-of-town scoreboard is coming up next. You're watching the Western Hockey League on Shaw TV.
Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, where quality and service are always in fashion. Thomas Jeffrey Menswear, Scotia Centre and South Centre Mall.
Play Humpty's Restaurant's Guess the Score game and you could win dinner for 2. To enter, just fill out a ballot at any Calgary area Humpty's restaurant and tell us what you think the score will be of the next Hitmen hockey game, broadcast live on Shaw TV. Humpty's, it's all good.
It's Game On. Big 4% Hitman Hockey live on Shaw TV. Sponsored in part by Humpty's Restaurant and Don Hartman Northeast Sportsplex.
Checking out-of-town scoreboard this evening. 4 other games around the Western Hockey League. In Saskatoon, the Blades and the Americans skate to a 4-4 overtime final. In Cranbrook, the Ice trying to hand Medicine Hat their second straight loss. They lead 2-1 through 40 minutes of play. Elsewhere tonight, the Spokane Chiefs have lost 6 games in a row. They are scoreless with Kelowna through 20 minutes of play. Seattle has won 8 of 10. They lead Vancouver 1-0 at the end of 1. It's 4-0 here. For their thoughts on period number 2, let's go back upstairs to Mark and Jim.
All right, thanks very much, Dave. 4-0 for the Calgary Hitmen against the Prince Albert Raiders tonight, and you need your big guys to lead. I mentioned earlier tonight, Mike Babcock's here again tonight, Jim Playfair, the head coach of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, looking at perhaps a future Duck in Ryan Getzlaf, and he said before that he needs this guy to drive the bus, Kelly Kissue to tell Ryan where the bus needs to go. Well, if Ryan Getzlaf is driving the bus for the Hitmen tonight, he has 2 of the 4 goals.
Well, he certainly is, and he will be a guaranteed Anaheim Mighty Duck for plays like this. Puck's down deep in the zone off a scoring chance by PA. Ryan Getzlaf comes down as a center iceman, comes down low, he turns, has a little look, puts a puck on O'Malley's stick. Then Ryan Getzlaf goes hard to the blue paint. O'Malley takes ice to the middle of the ice, enters it wide. There's Getzlaf on the bottom of your pitcher, comes in, gets it up over Boschman before he can get across. Outstanding defensive zone play by Ryan Getzlaf. Here it is again. Pass out front. Getzlaf finds a short hole up top. He starts to separate the game with a second goal of the night. And again, one more look at it. They drive wide past the defenseman. and Getzlaf. That's a pure goal scorer's goal. Here's a power play. Great fake down low by Kahn. Down low to Pushkarev. Out front to Ladd. Ladd's patient with the puck. Quick release. He gets square. He gets big in front of the slot. Puck's in the back of the net for the third goal.
That was a goal scorer's goal as well on Andrew Ladd.
Yes, it was.
Puck is dropped, and here we go with the third period. The Calgary Hitmen lead 4-0. But remember, Andrew Ladd took a double minor late in the second period. So the Prince Albert Raiders begin the third on the power play, and they have 2:20 to go with the extra attacker. Pierpoint will angle it into the corner. Jeremy Colleton back to Pierpoint, seconds into the third period. Colleton will take it in behind the Hitman goal. Chipchura back to the point. May juggles it. He's able to hold the line, however. Over to Seitzinen. Fakes a shot to Chipchura. Seitzinen back to Chipchura. Kyle Chipchura. Far side for Colleton, a one-timer that he just got enough of it to angle it into the left corner, but certainly not the result he was hoping for as he tried to get rid of it quickly. There's 1:50 to go on the double minor to Andrew Ladd. Play comes back to Jeff May. He sends it in the corner. Pierpoint to Chipchura. Yakboski, Solaski, Kahn, and Merkley, the penalty killers for the Hitmen. Play inside the Hitman zone. Seitzinen's able to knock it to Chipchura. Chipchura, a little bit of room, and he'll take it in behind the Hitman goal. Trying to throw it out front, and it's kept in by May on the wing. Back to Seitzinen. Shot in traffic. That goes off of Kahn and back into the corner. Dustin Kahn gets it. Can he clear? No. And it's kept in by the Raiders. Aki Seitzinen, the Finnish player for the Raiders, moves it on the right side boards for Pierpoint. Back to Seitzinen. 1:10 now left on the Raider power play. Here's the shot, and that goes in the corner. Colleton behind the net for Chipchura. Chipchura pressured by Kahn. Kyle Chipchura throws it out front. It goes off the side of the cage, and it's picked up in behind the Hitman goal by Kahn, and he's able to get it by Seitzinen and all the way down.
Well, they certainly had puck possession, but not a whole lot of a great scoring chance. I don't think there was a real dangerous threat to score, and the battle level and the intensity level of PA is not where it needs to be on the start of the third period here. So they got to pick it up here, and they got to do it. They got to score a goal every 5 minutes in order to get themselves back into this thing.
Puck in behind the Raider net. Fritz Shaw will move it ahead on the wing for Chris Slinker. One of the 320-year-olds moves it into the neutral ice area for the Raiders. 30 seconds to go on the double minor to Andrew Ladd. Carson in behind his goaltender, Daniel Spence. Brent Carson pressured, but he's able to move it with a good effort between the Raider defenseman and down, and that will bring the Raider goaltender Alex Archibald out behind the net. He's in relief of Rajan Boscheman, who played the first 40 minutes of this game.
We got a couple lefties defending the nets now, so this will be a battle of the lefties.
Archibald comes in for Boscheman. Shots on goal through 40 were 18-14, and Peter Anholt gave the hook to Rajan Boscheman as Jeff Schultz at his hockey club have a 4-0 lead. As Jeff Schultz at his hockey club have a 4-0 lead early in the third period and only 4 seconds left on the double minor to Andrew Ladd.
This period's going to be really important for the Hitmen to maintain their internal push. They may not get a push from the PA Raiders. They're a tired team. They're a team that's a little bit out of gas, and it's really important their good habits stay intact. They can't start becoming cookie monsters and thinking it's going to be a point night where they can run out and rack up the points. They have to make sure their discipline's in place now and make sure consistently they're playing the systems that they've worked on all season long.
We're back at even strength. Puck in behind Spence. After it for the Raiders is Ottman. He's pressured along the boards by Harder, and it comes out front. Good save again by the Hitman goaltender Daniel Spence. Schaefer at the point. His shot blocked. Landolt after it, and here come the Calgary Hitmen the other way, led by Brody Dupont. Dupont slammed into the boards by Jeff May, but he's able to send the puck all the way down. May moves it out into the neutral ice area, gathered up by Yakboski, and he'll lift it in. Puck in behind the Raider net. Archibald juggles it, and he's able to play it into the corner. Push Karev after it. Reed there as well. Moskaluk digging for it along the boards. Pierpoint reaching for it, but Kahn on the backhand will send it in. We've played 3.5 minutes of the third period. Neither team has scored here in the third, but the Calgary Hitmen with a commanding 4-0 lead. The Hitmen are undefeated in 5, 2 wins and 3 ties, and looking good here in the third period against the Prince Albert Raiders. Chipchura dumps it back in over the Hitman line. Out behind the net, Daniel Spence will leave it in behind the goal for Jeff Schultz. Schultz on the left wing for Reed. Picked off by Gauthier. And Gauthier along the boards battling with Isaac Reed. Schultz gets it. Plays it in front of his goal.
It is moved out in front of the Hitman bench and dumped in by Keegan Danzero. Archibald will stop it in behind the Raider net. Schultz dumps it right back into the corner. Gauthier hit along the boards by the 16-year-old. Keegan Danzero with a big check there. Raiders bring it the other way. Waker shoots it right on goal. Handled by Daniel Spence. 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the third period.
Well, December 1st in Red Deer, December 2nd in Lethbridge, the Canada-Russia Team WHL versus the Russia Select Series. And the contingent that will be playing in the series from the PA Raiders is Carlton, Chur, and Boschman. From the Calgary Hitmen, we're going to have Getzlaf, Ladd, Schultz, and Rogers. Is a question mark
with Rogers.
With his ankle, but they're out there to press Mr. Brent Sutter. They can play. Here we go.
Here we go is right. Scott Doucette is a 16-year-old. Carl Alsner is a 16-year-old. And these two young guys in the Western Hockey League are going to throw right in front of the Hitman bench. Doucette and Alsner. Alsner leaning in with the right, and he's trying to land a few rights. Doucette comes back with one of his own. The two linesmen will separate, and that's our third tilt of the game.
Well, give the young kids credit. They've been challenged by their coach in the PA's locker room. Obviously, their coach is frustrated. He's showing it by changing goaltenders, by the frustration of the power play. He calls a late timeout in the second period in their power play. Doesn't materialize into nothing. And now the frustration is starting to creep into their play. They fought at the end of the period. They're fighting at the start of the period. And I think as you look at the young boys going out of here now, they know they got a long career ahead of them. And they're going to play in this league. They got to step up and answer the bell in this regard. And whether you like it or not, it's a part of the game. I don't know if it'll ever be out of the game. And these kids are trying to impress upon their coaching staff, Kelly Kissio, that they want to stay and play at this level and develop a career for themselves.
A couple of 16-year-olds from BC. Scott Doucette from Coquitlam played Junior B in Richmond last year, and Kelly Kisso's Carl Alsner last year played as a 15-year-old with the Richmond Sockeyes. And the two 16-year-olds drop the mitts, do their thing, and it's 5 skaters aside. And we are 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the third period of play, and the Calgary Hitmen with a 4-0 lead at home. Fritshaw sends it in behind Spence. Seitzinen in the corner, spins. He's pressured by Harder. In the corner, it's moved in the right wing for Covington. Covington can't clear. It's kept in by Landon Jones. The puck goes in behind Daniel Spence. Schultz will move it back into the corner off the glass, and that will land at the feet of the co-coach, Dean Evason, in the Hitman bench. But Jeff Schultz and the Calgary Hitmen at home have a 4-0 lead as you watch the Western Hockey League on Shaw TV. Assistant coach Jim Playfair in the booth with Mark Stiles. The Western Hockey League on Shaw TV tonight. This is Big Four Motors, our principal sponsor of our Shaw broadcast tonight. Glenn Barrett and everyone at Big Four helping bring us this game from the Pengrowth Saddle Dome tonight in the Western Hockey League. Schaefer sends it in. The Raiders trail by 4 on the road, and they're not done on the road. They have tomorrow off. Then they go into Swift Current on Friday to play Dean Chanouth and the Swift Current Broncos before they return home on Sunday against the Tri-City Americans. The Raiders began this road trip at a real high. They beat the Medicine Hat Tigers, the top team overall in the Western Hockey League, to begin the trip on Sunday. They were the first team, period, to win a game in Medicine Hat this year, but they lost in Lethbridge last night. And Peter Anholt and the Raiders tonight trail 4-0 with 14 minutes to go in the third period. If you are just joining us, Ryan Getzlaf has 2 of the 4 goals for the Calgary Hitmen. The other goals, Lee Solaski and Andrew Ladd. Ladd and Getzlaf have both extended their point streaks to 6 games against the Raiders here tonight in the Saddle Dome. Sent back in by Pierpoint. In the corner, puck's thrown out front. The net was bumped, but and the goaltender Daniel Spence is trying to get the attention of the referee. Finally, he does, letting Kyle Raymond know that the net was dislodged, and we get a stoppage in play.
Well, for the amount of players that have been developed in the Western Hockey League for the National Hockey League. There's been a lot of coaches that have come through and honed their skills as well. And here's some of the look at some of the coaches, the great coaches of this league that have decided to make a living and staying in this league. Ken Hodge of the Portland Winterhawks at 14-11.
Hey, you played for Hodge.
I did play for. I was yelled at about 175 of those. I was yelled at. And Peter Anholt in number 8 slot. After tonight, he'll move to number 7 at 780 games coaching in the Western Hockey League. That's a great credit to the league, a great credit to the coaches, their abilities, the longevity ability and ability to develop and coach young kids.
The head coach of the Prince Albert Raiders, Peter Anholt, who you point out tonight, his 780th game behind the bench in the Western Hockey League, has coached so many guys that have gone on to the National Hockey League. And Peter Anholt, Jim Playfair, has coached the likes of Mike Modano, who is now with the Dallas Stars.
Partially with the Dallas Stars. When they're working, he is.
When they play,
that's right.
He is. And they'll get back soon, is the hope of hockey fans from coast to coast. Puck comes all the way back to the Hitman line. Harder chases after it. This is icing against the Prince Albert Raiders, and we'll be back from the Saddle Dome. This is the Western Hockey League on Shaw TV.
Options Bar and Lounge. It may be more fun than you can handle.
Calgary Hitman at home, and they have a 4-0 lead against the Prince Albert Raiders. 2 by Getzlaf, who has extended his point streak to 6 games, and the point streak includes 13 points in the last 6 games, and he has still time left potentially to get even more here in the third period. We have a stoppage of play inside the Raider line with 12:21 left in the third. Isaac Reed, one of those 5 16-year-olds for Kelly Kissio and Dean Evison.
Well, this is the type of game now with 12 minutes left that the coaches really want to see the young players get some minutes played. They go to the older players generally and say, listen, there's going to be some time frames in the game where we're going to get our young kids in here and get them some exposure. And the good players say, you know what, that's good for us. That's exactly what we need. And I think this is the time of the game now where the score is 4-0. That the good thing about the young players for the Hitmen is these kids aren't liabilities. I mean, Danzero's out there banging bodies. Brody DuPont's banging bodies. They're impact players when they play, and I think that Reed's a big body that once he gets familiar and comfortable with himself, he'll be a much more of an impact player. So I think, you know, a great credit goes to Kelly's ability to have the right scouts to bring the right kids in, and then you got to find the right pockets of games. And with good teams, when you get up leads like this, you should be able to play those kids and develop them.
Interesting you mentioned the scouts, because at the Western Hockey League level, they are the same as the NHL, invaluable. The 2 full-time scouts for the Calgary Hitmen are Brad Whalen and Chris Moulton. Puck in front of the penalty box, and the Raiders will move it back to the Hitman line. Trying to throw it out front was Erickson, but it's picked off, and here comes Moskaluk. Moskaluk brings it in, the former Swift Current Bronco. And he goes crashing in the boards behind the Raider goaltender Alex Archibald, who came in to relieve Rajan Boschman, who was
look at some of the
put on the bench after 40.
I'm sorry. Go look at some of the great Raiders alumni. Nick Schultz, great Minnesota run last year with Scotty Hartnell, Chris Phillips in Ottawa, developed into an outstanding defenseman. Mike Modano, he's a player that played for Ken Hitchcock in Dallas. Ken Hitchcock coached him for about a year and a half, and went to Mike and said, Mike, I think I can make you a best defensive player in the National Hockey League, one of the best defensive players in the National Hockey League. Mike says, I'll think about it. 3 months later, come back, said, all right, I'll do it. A year and a half later, they won the Stanley Cup with Mike being a great player. And obviously Dave Manson rounding that out, like we talked about earlier, being an assistant coach with the team and giving something back to the organization, to the community, and certainly a well-qualified man after 16 years in the National League. 1,200
regular season games played in the National Hockey League for Dave Manson. Puck goes in behind Daniel Spence. 11:10 left in the third period. Raiders trying to get something on the board on the road tonight. They trail 4-0 in the corner. Kane Pierpoint working it with Sean Landel. Chipchura there as well, but Pushkarov, a second-round draft choice of the Los Angeles Kings, plays it to Dupont. Dupont streaks in over the Raider line, tried to leave it for Pushkarev, but Chipchura was there, and he moves it to Seitzinen. Seitzinen shoots right on. Daniel Spence comes out to the top of the paint.
makes the save look easy, and Spence has now turned aside 18 Prince Albert Raiders shots.
Sights in, a big right shot comes down the wing. He has to get pucks in the net. Spence, no rebounds. He's big, he's square, he stops the play, shuts the puck down. It's a great whistle, and it's a great save.
Daniel Spence is set. Langley, British Columbia goaltender for the Calgary Hitmen. Play goes in behind his goal. Jeff Schultz in behind the net, trying to whip it along the board. Solaski collides with Fritshaw. Puck back in behind the Hitman goal. Out in front of the net, it's gathered up and moved ahead by Stephen Covington. Covington carries it back to the Raider line for O'Malley. O'Malley's able to angle it into the corner. Fritshaw on the backhand, plays it ahead on the wing, and here comes Nolan Waker. He's pressured, but he's able to move it up ice. Jones will pick it up, and he brings it to the Hitman line. Colleton behind the play, but it's Solaski that comes up with it. He has one of the 4 Hitman goals tonight. He plays it across, and it's lifted back to the Raider line. Back after it, Luke Fritshaw, originally drafted by the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim in the 2002 draft, and number 6 for the Raiders will send it down. Number 6 for the Hitmen, Brett Carson's back, and he's after it in behind Daniel Spence. We are at the halfway mark of the 3rd period, and the Calgary Hitmen and the Prince Albert Raiders, neither team have scored here in the 3rd, but the damage for the Hitmen, the majority of it came in the 2nd period. 3 goals, 1 more in the 1st. You add it up, and they have a 4-0 lead at home. Puck back in behind the Raider net. Kagan Danzero working along the boards with Gauthier. Isaac Reed there as well, and a penalty coming up against the Prince Albert Raiders from Kyle Raymond with 9:27 left in the 3rd.
Well, Moskowitz works hard down low and gets hauled down, and for his efforts, the Hitmen have earned themselves the right to go back on the power play, where they've done a very good job tonight. They kept it simple. They were crisp. They were getting pucks to the net off of one-time passes, which is really important. That way you don't allow their box to get set back up, and you can keep a lot of puck pressure down low and pucks to the net. Plus, with a new goaltender, you know they're going to be shooting to test them out.
Jeremy Colleton set to dig in against Riley Merkley. Both of these guys are from Blackie, Alberta, and they will both get tossed out of the face-off circle. Aki Seitzinen against Pushkarev. 2 guys from across the pond dig into the face-off circle. A Finn against a player from the Ukraine in Pushkarev. It's dumped in by DuPont, and he'll send it in behind the net. Slinker tries to whip it along the boards and out, and that's exactly what will happen as it comes back into the neutralized area. Seitzinen's got speed, brings it to the Hitman line, shoots! That's just wide of the left post. A good effort by Aki Seitzinen, but at the end of the day, he shoots it just wide of the left post as he came streaking in over the Hitman blue line. Dumped back in by Merkley to DuPont. He's going to fire. That was just wide of the right post. It bounces all the way back to Alsner, and he's going to play it to Carson. Carson ahead on the wing for Merkley, who will dump it in. Schaefer after it. Inside his own zone, trying to clear. Solaski keeps it in, throws it on goal into the trapper of Alex Archibald.
Well, the Hitmen have 1 minute and 7 seconds left to make a heavy push here on their power play. It's something, again, we talked about them partying on their big road trip where they got, I believe it's the longest road trip of if not the season, definitely.
See those jerseys are the 10th anniversary jerseys of the Calgary Hitmen, and in the history of this hockey club, Jim, in 10 years, they've never had a road trip that's been about 11 days, including 7 games, but that is what is on the horizon for the Calgary Hitmen. Here's the shot. Raiders shorthanded for another 50 seconds as we get a stoppage in play, but that is one long road trip for the Calgary Hitmen coming up. 1 more home game Saturday night for the Calgary Hitmen against the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Then Carl Alsner and his teammates will jump on the bus and go for 7 straight.
A tour of duty through the U.S. division, which will be good. They get out on the road together. They come off a strong homestand. We talked about it earlier in our broadcasts. They had to make sure they stockpiled some points before they left. They got their system in place, and certainly their penalty kill has been doing very well. Their power play has been doing very well, and their best players are being their best players. So they are certainly ready to go out on the road in good shape. 1 more game at home, and away they go.
35 seconds left in the Hitman power play. Solaski, one of the 4 goals for the Hitman tonight, leaves it in behind Daniel Spence. Brett Carson moves it ahead. Carson continues to bring it right to the Raider line for Solaski. Back to Carson. Schultz is going to walk in. Looked like he was going to shoot, but he moved it on the wing. Back to Carson. Back to Jeff Schultz. He plays it in behind the Raider net. Picked up by Slinker, but he fans on it, and Covington keeps it in on the power play. Schultz at the right point, fires, pad save. Selaski after it, gathered up by Archibald. The rebound, it goes off the side of the net. Hitman looking for their 5th goal of the night. Selaski gets it in the corner. Penalties over, we're back at even strength. 7:20 to go in the third. Carson shoots and scores! Brett Carson, Hitman lead, 5-0.
Is that not the Wendy's free burger goal right there?
That is the free plug on Shaw, too. When the Hitmen are at home, Jim Playfair, they score 5 or more. If you wonder why the crowd's going so crazy, everybody gets a free burger from Wendy's.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carson.
That's going to taste good later on.
Just a little wrist shot on the point. We talked about it earlier in the game. Getting traffic to the net, getting pucks through the net by the defenseman. Again, they don't always have to be the heavy slap shots. Playable pucks on the net. And that separates the game out 5-0.
Second of the campaign for Brett Carson. And the 6'5" defenseman for the Calgary Hitmen has really given the team a commanding lead now. 5-0 with 6:59 left in the third period. This is the Western Hockey League on Shaw TV.
Can you recognize the MVP on this team? Visit RBC.com to find out how the RBC Local Hockey Leaders Program recognizes volunteers in your community. RBC Insurance. First for you.
It has not been a good night on the road for the Prince Albert Raiders. They trail 5-0 with just under 7 minutes to go. Isaac Reed battling in the corner. Danzero there as well, trying to get by May and throw it out front. Isaac Reed continues to work in the right corner. Danzero follows up. He's along the boards with Jones. A lot of banging and crashing in the corner. And eventually it's picked up by Novak, who will move it behind the net for Jones. Jones lifts it right down the middle lane, and this will be icing against the Raiders with 6:28 left in the third period. Daniel Spence has been sharp for the Hitmen tonight. Tyler Harder has had a fight in this contest. He had one against Vancouver on Sunday as well.
The CHL top 10 represented strongly by 4 teams from the Western Hockey League. And again, the London Knights, I'm not so certain they're not still unbeaten. The Hunter brothers, the Hunter brothers have done an outstanding job there. They're representing the Memorial Cup is going to be played there this year, and it'll be a great battle, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the Western League as well, the Quebec Major Junior League, in order to battle out for the Memorial Cup this year.
Medicine Hat, Saskatoon, Seattle, and Red Deer, 4 teams from the Western Hockey League in the top 10. The Tigers are just off to a fabulous start this year, 13-2-1. The Tigers are on the road in Kootenay tonight, and I do know that I heard Dave Roberts back in the Shaw studio through 40 say the Tigers, although they're 13-2-1, were trailing in Cranbrook through 2 periods of play, and we'll get a final in that game at the conclusion of this one. We will check our out-of-town scoreboard one more time on Shaw TV. Here the Calgary Hitmen have a 5-0 lead. Ryan Getzlaf has 2, Brett Carson, Lee Selaski, and Andrew Ladd for the Calgary Hitmen. Shots on goal, 21-18 for the Hitmen. Gathered up by May in front of his goaltender Archibald. And here come the Raiders back to the Hitman line. It's set in by Waker. Schultz is back, has to hurry, he's pressured. Moves it ahead on the wing, back at the point. Schaefer gets it, and he'll shoot it right on goal. Stick save by Daniel Spence. And Brett Carson, who just scored a couple of moments ago, plays it ahead. Jeff Schultz is going to carry it up ice. He's met by 3 Raiders at the Prince Albert line. Over to Moskalak. He walks in. His shot goes off the body of Seitzman and into the left corner. The Calgary Hitmen send it back to Harder. Here's the shot in traffic. Puck's loose. May gets it, gobbles it up, and sends it back out to the red line. Pretty good Wednesday night crowd here today. Way too many men for the Prince Albert Raiders. They got away with a bunt. They had 7 or maybe 8 or 9 guys there.
They had too many campers for camping spots out there, that's for sure.
Jim, I was just mentioning the crowd before you alertly picked up on the Raiders with a boatload of guys on the ice. What a great Wednesday night crowd here in the Saddle Dome. They're making a lot of noise. Hitman at home against the Raiders.
Well, winning does that, and I think when you get that mindset back in the community, your team is a strong performer at home, you've got a good identity, that certainly fans want to come out and see it, and it's great to see all the kids out. No school tomorrow, is a holiday here obviously in Canada, and
puck's frozen in the Prince Albert zone, and let's take a commercial break. Brett O'Malley and his team has been busy as he watch the Western Hockey League on Shaw TV. Four minutes and 4 seconds left in this one. The Calgary Hitmen with a 5-0 lead on Shaw TV. A Wednesday night affair against the Prince Albert Raiders. Alzner fires wide of the target. Dupont after it. He works with O'Malley, but the Raiders get it back. It is lifted on the right wing, and DePape will move it back up ice. Ottman trying to bring it in. Dupont meets him there. O'Malley leaving it, and O'Malley will get it back as he takes it from Dupont. Brett O'Malley brings it in, had a shot, but he dished it off to Pushkarev. Pushkarev tied up along the boards by Gauthier. Pushkarev trying to kick it in behind the Raider net now. All tied up by Ottman. They continue to battle into the right corner. There's a penalty coming up. Daniel Spence was halfway to the Hitman bench, but he was uncertain which team had taken the penalty. He went to the bench and he went back to his net. He was not certain. And he made a good choice because it was a little bit of uncertainty as both players are on their way to the penalty box.
I think during the delayed penalty, O'Malley took a penalty. So that's how it messed Mr. Spence up, and that's how both doors, or both bench and both penalty boxes are filled back up again. I'm not sure how many penalties have been whistled all night long, but I'll tell you what, it's been a herky-jerky night for rhythm and flow of 5-on-5 play.
I would think in the 14 to 15 range. There were 11 after 2 periods of play, and there's been 3 or 4 more here in the third. 3 minutes to go in this hockey game. The Calgary Hitmen with a 5-0 lead, and this has been a pretty darn good homestand. We'll talk about that in our post game for the Hitmen as Jack Bosky sends it in. Slinker back after it, 4 skaters aside with 2:50 left in the third. Here comes Seitsonen. He lifts it back to the Hitman line. Kahn was unable to stop it. Chipchura after it. Chipchura in the left corner battling with 3 Hitmen. Finally, the puck comes loose, but Chipchura still after it. Hauled down in front of Spence, and it's moved up ice for Pushkarev. Back to Schaefer, and he'll leave it, and Colleton will move it back up ice. Jeremy Colleton can't get it deep. That will force Jeff May, the 17-year-old, back for Schaefer. Schaefer lifts it in, right on goal, handled by Spence. And Dustin Kahn will take it in behind his goal for Pushkarev. Pushkarev slammed into the boards by Colleton. Novak trying to throw it out front. It is moved up ice by Pushkarev. He took a big hit, but he keeps on going. Konstantin Pushkarev, 2 minutes to go in the third period, takes another hit, comes out front and scores! Konstantin Pushkarev! And the Calgary Hitmen have a 6-0 lead.
Well, fans are happy tonight, and I think they're going to love to cheer about this young fellow right here. Took 2 big hits. One down deep in the defensive zone, and the second one right here along the wall. He kept his feet moving. He went to the net. He looked the goaltender off. And a great shot upstairs where they keep the peanut butter, so to speak. Comes in, he has a look. Great shot. Short side.
Waited, had a look, as you pointed out.
Throws the goaltender, changed the position, and found some mesh.
Pushkarev has 15 points. That was his 7th goal. And Jim Playfair, he's amongst the top 4 in rookie scoring in the Western Hockey League.
Well, he should be with that skill level. And once he understands how hard he has to work.
And here's an odd man rush. Moskaluk has it, and he's got Danzero wide out front for Danzero. Can't get the shot away. Centering pass. And Moskaluk couldn't pull the trigger. Carson will, but he fires wide. 90 seconds to go in the game. Daniel Spence comes out. The Calgary Hitmen keep intact a streak that is really hard to believe. Before tonight's game, the Raiders had a 28-game winless streak in the Saddleville. The last time they have won in this building was in 1995. 9 seasons ago. That's how long it has been since the Raiders have won in this house. And they're certainly not going to win tonight with a minute to go, and they trail by 6. One of those weird, quirky stats, but one that the Prince Albert Raiders would like to get rid of sometime. But they won't this season because it's their last visit here this year. So after tonight's game, the Raiders have gone 29 games without a win in this building. They've had success at home against the Hitmen, but nothing in the Saddle Dome.
That's an
30 seconds to go.
That's an amazing stat, isn't it?
Jeff Schultz shoots and that goes wide. Matter of fact, the last time the Raiders won in this building, Caleb Toth scored twice for Prince Albert. One of the best lacrosse players in the NLL, a former Western Hockey League.
That's Rob Kerr's favorite guy. Rob Kerr wasn't too upset about the lacrosse league going on strike. He just wanted to make sure he could keep interviewing Caleb. He loves that guy.
A popular member of the Roughnecks from the National Lacrosse League in Calgary. 22 seconds to go. It's a matter of finishing this one up. Calgary Hitmen have led from start to finish. 1-0 after 1, 4-0 after 2. A couple more here in the third. And this one is all but in the books with 12 seconds left. Kept in by the Raiders. Riley Merkley after it along the board. Solaski there as well. Brad Erickson. We get one more stoppage in play. We may get more. 4 seconds left. We've had 3 fights in this game. The 2 linesmen, McMillan and Reitenbach, trying to get in the middle of every single player on the ice. No one's throwing them just yet, but Tyler Harder happens to be in the middle of this mix, so I wouldn't be surprised if we at least get one fight before it's over. Tyler Harder along the boards, Ottman there as well. Harder's partner is Mike Gauthier as they push and shove along the boards inside the Hitman zone. Now they're going to go. This is Jeff May of the Prince Albert Raiders throwing everything he's got against a Hitman player that I can't identify from that angle. Lee Solaski trying to slow down May. That was Keegan Dansereau. Tyler Harder with Gauthier as they continue to talk. 4 seconds left. Hitman lead 6-0.
Well, here's a situation where the frustration mounts to the point where 4 seconds left in the game, and PA wants to leave it all on the ice. They want to get back in the dressing room. They want to feel like they did something that says, you know what? We're not about that. We're not about sitting back taking a beating like this. We're going to leave an imprint on this game some way, somehow, and certainly 4.5 seconds isn't the time to really want to rev it up with a bunch of fights and a bunch of nonsense. It's a done deal. Obviously, it's a 6-0 hockey game, but this should be it. I think this is going to be the drop of the puck, and away they go. So, again, we talked about the long-standing homestand for the Hitmen. They got what they wanted of it so far. They got one more game against Lethbridge, and that becomes their focus now over the next day and a half, 2 days, is getting ready for that big game. And certainly Kelly Kissio did a very good job last night up in Lethbridge. He scouted out their breakouts, he scouted their power play, their specialty teams, and he left the fans tonight with a good feeling about their home team, and certainly that's exciting for the city of Calgary with their hockey team.
Well, you know what excitement in hockey is all about in this city, Jim Playfair. You turned the city, the Flames, and the country on its ear last spring.
Well, it was a special moment, a special time, and I know that they're not feeling very special right now, but certainly the talk amongst the community was pride. It was certainly a good feeling about themselves, and I think that's what's really important. You can't forget the fact we're in the entertainment business, and when the fans in the community feel good about the dollars they're spending and the enjoyment they're getting, and it spills over onto the streets and downtown, and hey, we're like you say, we're recognized across the country as being a fun town to come to. It looked like we were Wild West days with the rodeo going on every night, but
Stampede came early, and the Red Mile. It was in a league of its own.
But you know, it's our responsibility now when the puck drops on the National League season to bring the juice back to this building again. We've talked about an identity here, and I know the Hitmen have talked about an identity in this building, and that's why this homestand was so important for them, was to make sure that when teams come into this building, they know that the Hitmen have the potential to play hard physical hockey. They'll fight if you want to fight. They'll play a lot of different ways, and they certainly have the ability to score a lot of goals. And I think as this game wore on, their intensity and their foot races and battles for loose pucks was certainly the separating point in the game.
Ryan Getzlaf with 2, Ladd Solaski, Carson, and Pushkara. And Peter Anholt not happy with his team on the road tonight. The Raiders have had a lot of time on the road. Tonight's their 22nd game, and this is their 14th on the road. They've only played 8 at home, and they have another road game before this trip is over. They're in Swift Current, the Raider team, on Friday night. They'll travel to Swift Current tomorrow. Hitmen have one more in this homestand. Saturday night, divisional rival, the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Lindsay Offord and Darren Stocker will bring their team to town as Lee Solaski in 4 seconds time. Well, he'll go to the dressing room right now, but the rest of his teammates will go to the dressing room happy like those young men out to watch the Calgary Hitmen have a 6-0 lead here in the third period.
This is the frustrating part of this hurry-up hockey. Now the referee's back over talking to the linesmen, talking to the benches. It's a matter of getting this puck down, get the 4 seconds beat off the clock, and get everybody back out of here.
Peter Anholt, the head coach of the Prince Albert Raiders, is really hot with the referee, Kyle Raymond. He is giving Raymond an earful from the Raider bench.
He's just warming up for the dressing room is all he's doing.
you bring so much experience to the broadcast booth.
See, now the referee's got to go back over and tell. Well, that's where we want to get it over with. You know, like I talked earlier about the hurry-up face-off. It's such an advancement to the game where the referee blows a whistle in 8 seconds. The puck has to be down on the ice, and the game has a tempo and a pace to it. When you have these situations late in the game, this last 4 seconds is going to run 5 or 6 minutes off of real time.
4 seconds left in the game. Hitman leads 6-0. Kyle Raymond one more time is going back to the Raider bench. And the coach doesn't even want to talk to him.
That's because the referee has asked the coach to go sit this one out, I think.
The Raiders have to send a player to the penalty box, and on his way to the penalty box to sit this penalty is 16-year-old Scott Doucette. Puck is dropped, and this one is in the books. The linesmen are going to separate everybody, make sure nothing happens, and the Calgary Hitmen get a shutout with Daniel Spence, his first ever in the Western Hockey League. He's a 16-year-old. He is now 3-1-2. And the Langley, British Columbia native who just got his first win 3 weeks ago in the WHL. He's pumped up. He should be. First ever shutout in the WHL. That's big stuff if you're a 16-year-old.
Well, definitely. He certainly seems like these TV games. That's twice now he's played outstanding in the TV games. And I think that for a young boy like this to step in and play in an important game like this, the important thing is to recognize what's happened to the Calgary Hitmen. And I really believe their defensive zone structure, their defensive zone play has improved 100%. You watch their players go back into their own zone. They've got very good recognition of where the puck is. They understand the dangerous parts of the ice. And for the most part, Spence has been able to see just about each and every shot. And I think that's a huge asset to have in an organization, identifying a defensive strength, defensive ability, and they certainly have worked on it and it's paying off.
In the middle part of November, the Calgary Hitmen are putting the pedal down on the gas a little bit. They have points in 9 of their last 10 games. They're undefeated in 6. This Hitmen team is turning it up.
Well, you know what? Again, they have a team that was rated number 3. We talked about it earlier. This is where they're supposed to be. Now, from this point, they're supposed to build and get better. So I think that's a really important step for them to recognize now that they've done what they're supposed to do. Now they got to improve upon it. And they're going to do that from defensive play and from having their best players push ahead and want to have a bigger challenge and want to be pushed by the coaching staff.
They're better players. Ryan Getzlaf and Andrew Ladd both extended their point streaks to 6 tonight. Getzlaf had 2 of the 6 goals for the Calgary Hitmen. Let's throw it downstairs, and here's Dave Roberts.
Thanks, guys. The third period summary is brought to you by Urban Dispatch. Fred Carson with his second of the season from Lee Lasky. Steve Covington at 12:43. That made it a 5-0 hockey game. Konstantin Pushkarov, his 7th of the season from Zalaski at 17:59. The Calgary Hitmen coast to a 6-0 victory tonight at the Saddledome. The Cal Tire 3 stars are coming up next. You're watching Big Four Motors WHL Hockey right here on Shaw TV.
Big Four, proud sponsor of Hitmen Hockey on Shaw TV.
Options Bar and Lounge. It may be more fun than you can handle.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Options Bar and Lounge. It may be more fun than you can handle.
Okay, let's try it one more time.
Tonight's 3 stars are brought to you by Cal Tire. The 3rd star tonight with a couple of goals, Ryan Getzlaf. Lee Zalaski, 1 goal, a couple of helpers. Tonight's 2nd star and posting the shutout, Daniel Spence. Ryan Leslie is standing by with tonight's 3rd star, Ryan Getzlaf.
Here's Hitman captain Ryan Getzlaf. And Ryan, what a turnaround now. We're talking about 17 goals, 18 goals here in the last 3 games. Why the turnaround?
I don't know. I think it's just things are clicking now. You know, we got our line back together and stuff from last year, and you know we're going pretty good together right now. And obviously our power play's starting to click and stuff, and guys are starting to work. You know, it's just it's the way it goes. You know, if the team's all going, then things are going to happen for us.
Now you had 2 goals tonight. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Anaheim Mighty Duck coach Mike Babcock in the stands. Are you aware of this stuff, and how does that affect your play?
It doesn't really, you know, obviously, I knew he was there, you know, I talked to him, we went for lunch the other day and stuff, and he told me he was coming tonight and whatnot, but, you know, it just, you know, you can't let that stuff affect you, you know, I'm out there to play my game every night, and I'm playing for the guys in my dressing room right now.
Well, it obviously worked, and now as you guys have one more game against Lethbridge here at home, you get set to head into the BC and the U.S. division. Tell me about your thoughts as you guys head out on a very long road trip.
Like you said, you know, it's a very long road trip, and you got to take care of your body right now. You know, we got to prepare for that in the following weeks here, and obviously right now we're just looking at Saturday's game there against Lethbridge, and you know that's a big game to set yourself up before you go on the road.
We appreciate it. Tonight's 3rd star and Hitman captain Ryan Getzlaf.
Thanks very much, Ryan. 6-0 the final score here. The Calgary Hitmen cruise to an easy win over the Prince Albert Raiders. A reminder, the next game coming your way on Shaw TV, December the 14th, when the Kelowna Rockets visit the Pangros Saddledome. The WHL on Shaw has been a presentation of Big 4 Motors for the entire broadcast crew tonight in Calgary. I'm Dave Roberts saying so long, have a good one, and thanks for watching.
This is what close to $5 million worth of pot looks like. It's only a quarter of the $18 million of the drugs seized by police over the past month. It's all part of a crackdown on illegal marijuana grow operations across the city. A big job for the Southern Alberta Marijuana Investigative Team.
It's been significant. It is the largest single operation that Samet has done since it was started a year ago.
Coventry Hills is one of a number of areas in Calgary where the grow ops were located. Residents such as Kim Neal say this is nothing new.
Well, to be honest, last year at around the same time, a couple of houses down was the exact same incident, really exactly 2 houses down. So it was surprising that it would happen on our street twice, within a 1-year period.
Along with the pot, $1 million worth of equipment, cash, and weapons have been seized. So far, 24 charges have been laid on 8 people believed to be linked to organized crime. Police say they have more than just a drug problem on their hands.
It's the economic impact it's having on the housing industry. It's the health issues. It's the theft of power. It's a big problem, and everybody in Canada pays for it eventually.